The champagne flute trembled in my hand as I watched my son take the microphone at his wedding reception. From my seat at table 8, strategically placed behind a decorative pillar, I had a partially obstructed view of the head table where Brandon stood in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, his new bride Jessica beaming beside him. Before we continue with dinner, Brandon began, his voice carrying through the elegant ballroom. I want to take a moment to thank the woman who made me who I am today. My heart swelled. After everything we've been through, maybe this was the moment he'd finally acknowledge. Diana, would you please stand up? I watched his stepmother rise gracefully from table 1, her designer dress catching the light from the chandeliers. She'd been his father's wife for exactly 4 years. 4 years out of Brandon's 26 years of life. This amazing woman, Brandon continued, his voice thick with emotion, taught me what real strength looks like. She showed me how to carry myself in the business world, how to demand excellence, and how to never settle for mediocrity. Diana, you're the mother I always needed. Thank you for raising me to be the man I am today. The words hit me like physical blows, each syllable carefully chosen, each pause perfectly timed. I sat frozen at table 8, while 200 wedding guests erupted in applause. My sister Margaret, seated beside me, grabbed my hand under the table, her grip tight with shared indignation. But Brandon wasn't finished. Oh no, my son had more to say. I know I wouldn't be standing here today, successful and happy, without the guidance of the woman who raised me. He raised his champagne glass toward Diana. To the best mom a guy could ask for. To Diana. The crowd echoed. I smiled. Years of practice had taught me how to curve my lips upward while my heart shattered. I raised my glass with everyone else, took a small sip, and quietly placed my napkin on my plate. Margaret whispered urgently in my ear, but I shook my head. I need some air, I murmured, standing as gracefully as my shaking legs would allow. I made it through the ballroom doors before the tears came. 26 years. 26 years of 3 AM feedings, of staying up all night when he had the flu, of driving him to hockey practice at dawn every Saturday. 26 years of helping with homework, attending every game, every concert, every parent-teacher conference. I thought about the nights I'd spent at the kitchen table, going over college applications with him. The way I'd worked double shifts at the hospital to pay for his tutors when he struggled with calculus. The day I'd held him while he sobbed after his first girlfriend broke his heart. Diana had been there for none of it. The valet brought my car, and I drove home in silence, my phone buzzing incessantly in my purse. I knew it would be Margaret, probably my mother, maybe even some of the family friends who'd witnessed my humiliation. I ignored them all. At home, I poured myself a glass of wine, good wine, from the bottle I'd been saving for a special occasion, and sat down at my computer. The trust fund documents were exactly where I'd filed them years ago, properly organized in both digital and physical copies. Brandon's grandfather, my father, had established the trust when Brandon was born, naming me as the sole trustee with complete discretionary power over distributions. The trust currently held $1.2 million. My fingers hovered over the keyboard as I logged into the trust management portal. For 26 years, I carefully managed this money, investing it wisely, watching it grow, planning to give Brandon the perfect start to his married life. The plan had been to transfer control to him as a wedding gift, along with a substantial distribution for a house down payment. But Diana had raised him, hadn't she? Diana had made him the man he was today. I made several phone calls that night, first to the trust attorney, confirming my absolute right as trustee to freeze all distributions indefinitely. Then to my financial advisor, initiating a complete review of the trust's investment strategy, a process that would legally prevent any distributions for at least 6 months. The next morning came faster than expected. I was enjoying my coffee on the back patio, watching the sunrise, when my phone exploded with calls. Richard's number appeared first, then Brandon's, then unknown numbers I assumed were wedding vendors. I let them all go to voicemail. At 9:47 a.m., Richard's car screeched into my driveway. My ex-husband looked disheveled, his hair uncombed, his shirt partially untucked. This was not the polished executive image he usually presented. "What did you do?" he demanded, not even bothering with a greeting as I opened the door. "Good morning to you too, Richard. Rough night? How was the wedding?" "Cut the crap, Monica. The trust fund is frozen. The check I wrote for the catering bounced. The honeymoon package is being canceled. What the hell did you do? I stepped aside to let him in, mainly because I didn't want the neighbors to witness his meltdown. Would you like coffee? You look like you could use some. I don't want coffee. I want to know why you sabotaged our son's wedding. Our son. I laughed, to sound bitter even to my own ears. I thought Diana raised him. Isn't that what he announced to everyone last night? Richard's face went through several shades of red. You're being petty. He was just thanking Diana for raising him. Yes, I heard. From table 8. I moved to the kitchen, pouring myself another cup of coffee with steady hands. Tell me, Richard, where was Diana when Brandon had chicken pox? When he broke his arm falling off his bike? When he needed 3 hours of help with his science fair project? That's not the point. Oh, but it is the point. Brandon made it very clear last night that Diana is the woman who raised him, who made him who he is today. So naturally, I assumed she'd be handling his financial needs as well. The trust fund is his money. Actually, I said calmly, it's not. The trust fund is under my complete control as trustee. My father made sure of that. I have absolute discretion over when and how distributions are made, or if they're made at all. Richard sank into one of my kitchen chairs, his anger deflating into panic. Monica, the wedding vendors are calling. We're going to be sued. Brandon and Jessica are supposed to leave for Bora Bora tomorrow. Then I suggest you figure it out. After all, Diana raised him to be successful, didn't she? I'm sure between the 3 of you, you can handle a few bills. A few bills? The outstanding balance is over $70,000. I nearly choked on my coffee. $70,000. For a wedding? Diana planned it, he admitted reluctantly. She said Brandon deserved the best. Of course she did. With my father's money. My phone rang. Brandon's picture appeared on the screen, a photo from his high school graduation, where he was hugging me, both of us laughing. I let it go to voicemail. Monica, please, Richard's voice had shifted to pleading. This is Brandon's wedding. Don't ruin it because your feelings were hurt. My feelings? I set down my coffee cup harder than necessary. You think this is about my feelings? For 26 years, I've put Brandon first. Every decision, every sacrifice, every moment of my life revolved around being his mother. And last night, in front of every important person in our lives, he erased all of that. He didn't mean. He looked me in the eye when he walked past table 8 to greet guests. He knew exactly where I was sitting. He knew what he was doing. Richard's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and paled. The venue is threatening to call the police if we don't settle the bill immediately. Then you better transfer some money from your accounts, or ask Diana. After all, she's the one who raised him. You know I can't cover $70,000 overnight. Then maybe you shouldn't have let Diana plan a wedding you couldn't afford without stealing from my father's trust. Richard stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. This is cruel, Monica. You're punishing Brandon for a few poorly chosen words. Poorly chosen. I laughed again. No, Richard. Those words were carefully selected. Brandon's always been articulate. I made sure of that with the best schools and tutors money could buy. He knew exactly what he was saying. After Richard left, slamming my door hard enough to rattle the windows, I sat in the quiet of my kitchen. My phone showed 37 missed calls. The voicemail box was full. I thought about Brandon as a little boy, the way he'd curl up next to me on the couch for story time. The teenager who'd still give me quick hugs when his friends weren't looking. The young man who'd called me crying after his first job rejection. When had I lost him? When had Diana's influence, her promises of connections, her flashy lifestyle, her surface-level involvement, become more valuable than 26 years of actual motherhood? The answer came with my doorbell. At 2 p.m. Brandon stood on my porch, still in his wedding clothes from the night before, looking haggard. Jessica was nowhere to be seen. Mom, he started, and I almost broke. It had been so long since he'd called me that. Can we talk? I let him in. What else could I do? Despite everything, he was still my son. He sat in the same chair his father had occupied hours earlier. The trust fund is frozen pending a complete review of the investment strategy. It's my fiduciary duty as trustee to ensure the funds are being managed properly. Mom, please. Jessica's parents are furious. The vendors are threatening to sue. Our honeymoon. Your honeymoon? I interrupted. Shouldn't you be discussing this with Diana? After all, she's the woman who raised you. Brandon had the grace to flinch. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Really? Because it sounded like you were erasing 26 years of my life. It sounded like you were giving credit for your success to a woman who's been in your life for 4 years. Diana's been good to me, and I haven't. That's not what I meant. He ran his hands through his hair, messing up the carefully styled look. Diana understands the business world. She has connections. Connections, I repeated. Is that what makes a mother? Connections. You wouldn't understand. You're right, I cut him off. I wouldn't understand. I was too busy working night shifts to pay for your hockey equipment to develop business connections. Too focused on helping you with homework to network at country clubs. Too concerned with raising you to worry about climbing social ladders. That's not fair. Fair? I stood unable to sit still any longer. Was it fair when I missed my promotion opportunity because I couldn't travel while you were dealing with teenage depression? Was it fair when I spent my retirement savings on your undergraduate degree so you wouldn't have loans? Was it fair when I sat at table 8 last night? Brandon was crying now, silent tears rolling down his cheeks. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said it. Diana had been coaching me on the speech, and she suggested. Stop. I held up my hand. Don't blame Diana. You're 26 years old. You made a choice. What do you want me to do? How do I fix this? I looked at my son, really looked at him. When had he become this person who valued appearances over authenticity, who could so easily dismiss the woman who'd given everything for him? I don't know if he can, I said honestly. The trust fund will remain frozen until I decide otherwise. Your grandfather gave me that authority because he trusted my judgment. Right now, my judgment says you're not ready for that responsibility. But the wedding, the vendors, are your father and Diana's problem. After all, she planned it. She can figure out how to pay for it. Brandon left shortly after, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I watched from my window as he sat in his car for 10 minutes before driving away. The calls continued for days. Family members who'd been at the wedding reached out, some supportive, others critical of my harsh response. I ignored most of them. Margaret came by daily, bringing wine and righteous indignation in equal measure. You should have seen Diana's face when the catering manager interrupted the reception. She told me on day 3. Apparently, the check bounced while they were serving dessert. They actually stopped bringing out the wedding cake. I felt a twinge of sympathy for Jessica. None of this was her fault. 2 weeks later, Brandon called again. This time, his voice was different. Subdued. Thoughtful. Mom, can we have lunch? Just the 2 of us? I agreed, choosing a quiet restaurant where we used to go when he was in high school. He looked older somehow, the past 2 weeks having aged him visibly. I've been thinking, he began after we ordered, about everything you did for me, everything I took for granted. I waited, not making it easy for him. Diana and Dad, they couldn't cover the wedding bills. We had to take out a loan. Jessica's parents paid for the honeymoon so we wouldn't lose it entirely. He laughed bitterly. Diana suddenly had a lot less advice once she had to actually deal with the consequences. I hurt you, he continued, not just at the wedding. For years, I've been hurting you, choosing them over you, acting like what you did didn't matter because it wasn't flashy or impressive to my friends. Why? I asked simply. Brandon was quiet for a long moment. Because it was easier, he finally admitted. It was easier to impress people by talking about Diana's connections than explaining that my real mom worked double shifts as a nurse. It was easier to brag about Dad's business than to talk about how you stayed up all night helping me study. I was ashamed, and that shame made me cruel. The honesty was brutal, but I appreciated it. I don't expect you to forgive me, he said. I don't expect you to unfreeze the trust fund. I needed you to know that I know. I know who really raised me. I know who sacrificed everything for me. And I'm sorry I let you sit at table 8. I reached across the table and took his hand. I love you, Brandon. I've loved you since the moment I first held you. That will never change. But trust, respect, those have to be earned back. I understand. I want to earn them back. It took time, months of regular lunches, of real conversations, of Brandon learning to see me as a person and not just a resource. Diana's influence faded quickly once the money dried up. She and Richard divorced within 18 months, the relationship crumbling without my father's trust fund to prop it up. I eventually unfroze the trust, but with new conditions. Distributions would be made gradually, tied to Brandon demonstrating financial responsibility and maintaining a genuine relationship with me. He agreed without complaint. At Jessica's baby shower 2 years later, Brandon stood to speak. This time, I was at table 1, right beside him. Before we start, he said, his voice steady, I want to thank my mom. My real mom. The woman who actually raised me, who sacrificed everything for me, who loved me even when I didn't deserve it. Mom, you're the reason I know how to be a parent. Thank you for never giving up on me. This time, my tears were happy ones. The trust fund? It's still there, growing and waiting. But now it's not the most valuable thing I'm leaving my son. That would be the lesson he learned. That love isn't measured in connections or flash or public recognition. It's measured in presence, in sacrifice, in showing up every single day, even when you're relegated to table 8. Especially then.
I thought I had everything. The kind of everything you post about on social media, knowing your friends will hate you a little for it. Successful business, gorgeous husband, that house with the kitchen island everyone covets. I believed it too, until exactly 9:17 p.m. on our 5th wedding anniversary. You need to see this, Lily whispered, her fingers digging into my forearm as she pulled me away from my own party. The concern in her eyes made my stomach drop before I even knew why. I followed her through the crowd of well-wishers filling our open-concept living room, champagne sloshing in my glass. Todd had gone all out for our anniversary. Caterers, a small jazz quartet, flowers everywhere. He'd even made a toast that had me blinking back tears 10 minutes earlier. Can't this wait? I asked, forcing a smile at Clayton as we squeezed past. We're about to cut the cake. Lily didn't answer, just pulled me into Todd's home office and shut the door. The music became a dull thrum through the walls. I wasn't snooping, she started, which is exactly what people say when they found something while snooping. I came in here looking for more napkins where you said they'd be, in the credenza. And? My voice sounded normal. Everything was still normal. I found this instead. She held out her phone, open to a banking app. Todd left his laptop open. This was on the screen. I squinted at the numbers, trying to make sense of them. I don't understand. It's a transfer, Heidi, from your business account to some offshore thing. $500,000. The room tilted slightly. That's impossible. I'd know if that kind of money. There are dozens of transfers. Small enough to fly under the radar, I'm guessing. Going back months. I snatched the phone, scrolling through the transaction history. My throat closed up as the evidence mounted. All those nights Todd had helped with the bookkeeping. All those times he'd assured me everything was fine when I worried about cash flow. There's more, Lily said, her voice gentler now. I took screenshots. She swiped to another image, an email thread between Todd and someone named Daisy Ford. My Daisy, my head of sales. The wife doesn't suspect anything. 2 more months and we'll have enough to make the move. What about the business? Daisy had replied. She'll be too busy dealing with the audit to notice we're gone. Audit? What audit? I'm sorry, Lily whispered. I didn't know how to tell you. The glass slipped from my fingers, red wine spreading across the beige carpet like blood. 5 years of marriage, 8 years together. And all this time, Heidi, Todd's voice called from the hallway. Babe, where'd you go? Everyone's waiting. I looked up at Lily, panic rising in my chest. What do I do? Don't let him know that you know, she said quickly. Not yet. Not until we figure out how much he's taken and what this audit thing is about. The doorknob turned. I kicked the wine glass under the desk and wiped my eyes. Todd appeared, handsome in his tailored suit, that smile I'd fallen for lighting up his face. There you are. What are you two hiding in here for? Girl talk, Lily said smoothly. I was just telling Heidi about this guy I met. I forced myself to smile, to step forward and slip my arm through his like I'd done thousands of times before. His body felt suddenly unfamiliar against mine. Sorry, honey. You know how Lily gets when she's crushing on someone. Was my voice steady? Could he tell? I studied his face for any sign that he knew I'd discovered his betrayal, but saw only the same Todd I'd always known. That was the most terrifying part. Well, crush later. Everyone's waiting for the anniversary cake cutting. He kissed my temple, and I suppressed a shudder. 5 amazing years, right? 5 years of lies. 5 years of him systematically stealing from me while I worked myself to exhaustion building my company. Right, I echoed, letting him lead me back toward the party, Lily following close behind. As we emerged into the living room, our friends erupted in applause. Todd raised our joined hands triumphantly, playing the role of devoted husband to perfection. The knife waited beside our anniversary cake, 3 tiers of white chocolate and raspberry that I'd specially ordered from his favorite bakery. I looked at the knife, then at Todd's smiling face, then back at the knife. "Speech," someone called out. Todd squeezed my hand, oblivious to the storm raging inside me. "Want me to do it, or you?" I reached for the knife, wrapping my fingers around the handle. "Oh, no," I said, meeting his eyes. "I think it's my turn to cut something." I somehow made it through the rest of the party, smiled for photos, thanked guests for coming, kissed Todd on cue when everyone clinked their glasses. My face ached from the performance. "You okay?" Todd asked as we waved goodbye to the last guests around midnight. "You seem off." I forced another smile. "Just tired. It was a lot to take in." "I know what you mean." He wrapped his arms around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. 5 years. Sometimes I can't believe how lucky I am. The audacity. I wanted to scream, to confront him right there, but Lily's warning echoed in my head. "Don't let him know until you understand what you're dealing with." "I'm going to clean up," I said, pulling away. "Leave it for tomorrow. The cleaning service is coming anyway." He tugged at my hand. "Come to bed." The thought of lying next to him made my skin crawl. "I just need a few minutes to decompress. I'll be up soon." Once he disappeared upstairs, I collapsed onto the couch, my body finally giving in to the trembling it had been suppressing all night. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "Call me when you can. I'm worried about you." Instead of calling, I found myself moving through the house collecting evidence. I grabbed Todd's laptop from his office, along with the files he kept in his desk drawer. In the kitchen, I poured myself a large glass of wine and spread everything across the island counter. The laptop was password protected. Of course, I tried our anniversary date, his birthday, my birthday. Nothing worked. After the 5th attempt, I stopped, afraid of triggering a lockout. I turned to the files instead. Most contained ordinary household documents, insurance policies, car maintenance records, warranties. Nothing suspicious. But in a folder labeled Tax Prep, I found something odd. A second set of financial statements for my company with numbers that didn't match the ones I reviewed monthly. The doorbell rang, startling me so badly I knocked over my wine glass. Who would be coming by at 1 a.m.? I peered through the peephole to see Lily standing on my porch, hugging herself against the night chill. "I couldn't sleep," she said when I opened the door. "I kept thinking about your face when you saw those transfers." I pulled her inside quickly. "Todd's upstairs. He thinks I'm cleaning up." "Has he said anything?" "Nothing. He's acting completely normal." I led her to the kitchen, showing her the documents I'd found. "Look at this. These aren't the real numbers for my company." Lily studied the papers, her brow furrowed. "It looks like he's been keeping 2 sets of books. One for you, one for something else." "The audit," I whispered. "He mentioned an audit in those emails. What if he's setting me up to take a fall for tax fraud?" The realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about stealing money. He was creating a paper trail that would implicate me. "Heidi," Todd's voice called from upstairs. "Who are you talking to?" Lily and I froze, staring at each other in panic. "It's just Lily," I called back, quickly gathering the papers. She forgot her phone. Heavy footsteps on the stairs. I shoved the documents into Lily's purse just as Todd appeared in the kitchen doorway, wearing only his pajama bottoms. "Hey, Lily," he said, seeming genuinely surprised. "Everything okay?" "Sorry to drop by so late," she replied smoothly. Left my phone somewhere in the chaos. Heidi found it for me. I held up her phone as evidence. She'd actually left it on purpose, anticipating this might happen. Todd yawned. No problem. Heidi, are you coming to bed soon? In a minute. After he retreated upstairs, Lily gripped my hands. You need help, professional help. What, like therapy? I almost laughed. No, like someone who knows how to handle financial fraud. I have a friend, Warren. He's a private investigator who specializes in this kind of thing. A private investigator? Isn't that a bit extreme? Lily's expression hardened. He's stealing your money and setting you up to take the blame for his crimes. How much more extreme does it need to get? She was right. The Todd I thought I knew, the man who supported my dreams, who celebrated my success, was a fiction. The real Todd was systematically destroying everything I'd built. Okay, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. Set up a meeting. After Lily left, I stood in our kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of our anniversary celebration. 5 years of what I thought was love, reduced to a criminal conspiracy. I climbed the stairs slowly, each step requiring deliberate effort. Todd was already asleep, his breathing deep and even. I slipped into bed beside him, keeping to the edge of the mattress. Tomorrow I'd meet with Warren. Tomorrow I'd begin to understand the full scope of Todd's betrayal. Tomorrow I'd start planning how to save myself. But tonight, I lay awake beside the stranger I'd married, plotting my first move in a game I never wanted to play. I met Warren at a coffee shop 15 miles from my house, far enough that I wouldn't run into anyone I knew. He didn't look like a private investigator, no trench coat, no world-weary expression, just a middle-aged man in a sensible blazer with kind eyes and a firm handshake. Lily filled me in on the basics, he said after we'd settled at a corner table. But I need to hear everything from you. I'd barely slept, spending the night rehearsing what to say to Todd in the morning. I'd settled on a half-truth, a supplier emergency requiring my immediate attention. He'd kissed me goodbye without a hint of suspicion. My husband is stealing from my company, I said, the words still feeling surreal. And I think he's setting me up to take the blame for tax fraud. Warren didn't react with shock or pity. He simply nodded and took out a small notebook. Walk me through what you found so far. I showed him the screenshots Lily had taken, described the falsified financial statements, explained the references to an audit. With each detail, the knot in my stomach tightened. How much do you think he's taken? Warren asked. I don't know exactly. The transfers Lily found total around $500,000, but there could be more. Warren whistled softly. And your company, how's it doing financially? We're profitable, growing steadily. I twisted my wedding ring, a nervous habit I suddenly couldn't stand. I slipped it off and dropped it into my purse. At least I thought we were. Who handles your accounting? I have a bookkeeper, Esme. She's young but brilliant. Todd. He reviews everything before it goes to our accountant. My voice caught. I trusted him. Warren's expression softened. That's not your fault, Heidi. People like your husband count on that trust. People like my husband, I repeated. The phrase felt like a slap. What do we do now? First, we need to understand the full extent of what he's done. I'll need access to your business records, bank statements, tax filings, everything. My phone buzzed with a text from Daisy. Need to discuss Q3 projections. Lunch today? Daisy, Todd's accomplice, my supposed friend and colleague. I showed Warren the message. She's working with him. I saw the emails. This could be an opportunity, Warren said, leaning forward. Meet with her. Act normal. See what information you can get. You want me to spy on her? I want you to protect yourself. Right now, information is your best defense. I agreed to meet Daisy at 1 p.m., then spent the next hour giving Warren every password, account number, and business detail I could remember. By the time we finished, I felt hollowed out. One more thing, Warren said as we prepared to leave. Don't confront Todd yet. People get desperate when cornered, and desperate people make dangerous choices. The warning sent a chill through me. I'd known Todd for 8 years, married him, built a life with him. Was Warren suggesting he might hurt me? I need to get to my office, I said, suddenly needing to be somewhere familiar, somewhere that still felt like mine. The fashion design studio that served as headquarters for my company had always been my sanctuary. Today, it felt like enemy territory. Who else was involved in Todd's scheme? Who could I trust? Esme looked up from her computer as I entered. "Morning, Heidi. I wasn't expecting you today." Esme had joined the company 3 years ago as an intern and quickly proved herself indispensable. At 28, she managed our books with meticulous attention to detail. If the numbers were being manipulated, wouldn't she have noticed? "Just catching up on some things," I said, trying to sound casual. "How are the new collection numbers looking?" "Strong. The fall line is already generating pre-orders." She hesitated. "Actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about something." My guard immediately went up. "What is it?" "Some of the financial reports seem off. Nothing major, just discrepancies I can't reconcile." She lowered her voice. "I tried mentioning it to Todd last week when he came by, but he said not to worry about it." My heart raced. Todd was here. He doesn't usually visit the office. He said he was surprising you with lunch, but you were in a meeting. He asked to use your computer to check some numbers. Esme looked uncomfortable. "I should have told you sooner." I fought to keep my expression neutral. "It's fine." "What kind of discrepancies did you notice?" "Expense allocations that don't match our actual spending. Vendor payments to companies I can't verify." She pulled up a spreadsheet. "Like this one, 3 payments to Meridian Consulting. I can't find any record of services they provided." Meridian Consulting. The name meant nothing to me, but the payments totaled $75,000. "Thank you for showing me this," I said, my mind racing. "Let's keep this between us for now, okay? I need to look into it further." Esme nodded, relief visible on her face. I was worried I was overstepping. Never. This is exactly what I need to know. As I headed to my office, my phone buzzed with another text, from Todd this time. "Hope your day's going better. Dinner tonight? I have news to share." News. What news could he possibly have that wasn't another lie? I texted back, "Looking forward to it." The ease with which I could now lie to him surprised me, but then I'd had an excellent teacher. Lunch with Daisy felt like the strangest performance of my life. We sat at our usual spot, a bistro 2 blocks from the office, while I pretended I didn't know she was helping my husband steal from me. "The anniversary party looked amazing," Daisy said, spreading her napkin across her lap. "Todd really outdid himself." I took a sip of water to steady myself. "He's full of surprises." "Speaking of surprises," she continued, "I've been running some numbers on the expansion plan. I think we should accelerate the timeline." The expansion plan had been my dream for years, opening 3 new boutiques in key markets. Todd had always encouraged it, but now I understood why. More locations meant more money flowing through the business, more opportunities to siphon funds. "I'm not sure that's wise," I said carefully. "The current economic climate is perfect," Daisy interrupted. "Interest rates are low, and our brand recognition has never been higher." She pulled out a folder. "I've already drafted a proposal for the board." I stared at her, this woman I'd trusted with my business secrets for years. How long had she been working against me? What was her angle? "That's very proactive of you," I managed. Todd thought so too. He's been incredibly helpful with the financial projections. Of course he had. I forced a smile. "You've been talking to Todd about this?" "Just getting his input. He has such a good head for business." She tilted her head. "Is that a problem?" "No, not at all. I just like to be kept in the loop." Daisy's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, then quickly turned it face down. "Sorry about that." Was she texting Todd right now? Updating him on our conversation? The thought made me feel physically ill. "Actually," I said, seizing an opportunity, "I noticed some unusual payments to a company called Meridian Consulting. Do you know anything about that? The briefest flicker of something, alarm, guilt, crossed Daisy's face before her professional mask slipped back into place. Meridian, I believe they helped with market research for the expansion. Todd handled that contract. A lie. I'd run every market research project personally. Right, of course, I said. I must have forgotten. The rest of lunch passed in a blur of small talk and business discussions that now felt hollow. When we parted ways outside the restaurant, Daisy hugged me like always. We're going to do great things together, she said. I wondered if she meant her and me, or her and Todd. Back at the office, I shut my door and called Warren. Meridian Consulting, I said without preamble. I need to know everything about them. I'm already on it, Warren replied. Esme sent me the payment records this morning. I froze. Esme contacted you. How does she even have your number? I reached out to her after our meeting. You mentioned she handled the books, so I figured she'd be a valuable resource. You went behind my back? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. I'm trying to help you, Heidi. We need all the information we can get as quickly as possible. I pressed my fingers to my temples, feeling a headache forming. You should have asked me first. Would you have said yes? The question hung between us. Would I have, or would I have hesitated, worried about involving another person, expanding the circle of those who knew how thoroughly I'd been deceived? That's not the point, I said finally. The point is, Esme already suspected something was wrong. She's been documenting discrepancies for months. She's on your side. I thought about Esme's relief when I hadn't dismissed her concerns. Had she been carrying this burden alone, afraid to speak up? Fine, I conceded. What did you find out about Meridian? It's a shell company, registered 6 months ago to a P.O. box. No website, no employees, no actual consulting services. Let me guess, Todd's name is on the paperwork? No, it's registered to someone named Clayton Mitchell. Clayton. My stomach dropped. Clayton had been friends with Todd since college. He'd been at our wedding, at our anniversary party just days ago. I'd always liked him. That can't be right, I whispered. I'm sending you the documentation now. My email pinged. There it was, Clayton's name on the incorporation papers for a company that existed solely to funnel my money into someone else's pocket. There's something else, Warren continued. Esme found emails between Todd and Clayton discussing a property purchase, a beachfront villa in a non-extradition country. The room seemed to tilt. They're planning to run. It looks that way. And soon. I thought of Todd's text. I have news to share. Was tonight when he planned to spring some new lie on me, some story to explain why we suddenly needed to take a vacation to a country that wouldn't send him back to face charges. What do I do? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. We accelerate our timeline. I've already spoken with a forensic accountant. She can start tomorrow if you authorize it. Do it, I said without hesitation. And tonight, with Todd. I'll play along. Make him think everything's normal. After hanging up, I sat at my desk, staring at the framed photo of Todd and me from our honeymoon. We looked so happy, so in love. Had it all been an act? Or had he loved me once, before greed took over? I removed the photo from its frame and tore it in half, separating his image from mine. It felt childish, but also necessary, a physical representation of what was happening to my life. My phone buzzed with a text from Todd. Made reservations at Luciano's for 7. Wear that blue dress I love, giving me instructions, always controlling the narrative. I texted back, perfect, can't wait to hear your news. This time, the lie came easily. The blue dress hung on the back of my office door, like a costume for a role I no longer wanted to play. Todd's favorite. Fitted, low cut, the color he said made my eyes pop. I'd worn it countless times to please him. Tonight, it felt like armor. I applied makeup carefully, covering the shadows under my eyes, evidence of sleepless nights. My phone buzzed with a text from Lily. You don't have to do this. Stay with me tonight instead. But I did have to do this. I needed to know what Todd was planning. Luciano's was where we'd had our first date. The hostess greeted me by name, leading me to our table by the window. Todd was already there, standing when he saw me approach. "You look beautiful," he said, kissing my cheek. I smiled, wondering if he could feel how rigid my body had become at his touch. "Thanks for arranging this. It's been a while since we've had a date night." "Too long." He pulled out my chair. "I ordered that Barolo you love." The wine arrived, deep red and expensive. I sipped slowly, needing to keep my wits about me. "So," I said, "you mentioned you had news?" Todd's face lit up with what looked like genuine excitement. "I've been working on something big. A surprise." My heart raced. Was this it? The lead-up to his escape plan? "I know how hard you've been working," he continued, "how much the business means to you, and I think I've found the perfect opportunity to take it to the next level." The waiter interrupted to take our order. Todd ordered for both of us without asking what I wanted, a habit I'd once found charming. "What kind of opportunity?" I asked when we were alone again. "An investor? Someone willing to put serious capital into your expansion plans?" He leaned forward. "We're talking 8 figures, Heidi, enough to open not just 3 new locations, but 10. I nearly choked on my wine. 10? That's not the plan." "Plans change. This is huge." His eyes gleamed. "I've been working on this deal for months. Didn't want to say anything until it was solid. Months. The same time frame as the mysterious transfers. Was this investor real, or just another fiction?" "Who is this investor?" I asked. "His name is James Westfield. Made his fortune in tech, looking to diversify." Todd reached for my hand across the table. "He wants to meet you next week. I've already set everything up." A meeting that would never happen, because Todd would be gone by then, taking my money with him. "That's incredible," I managed. "How did you connect with him?" "Clayton introduced us. They go way back." Clayton again. The pieces were falling into place. "Speaking of Clayton," I said carefully, "I ran into him today. He mentioned something about a consulting company." Todd's expression didn't change, but his hand twitched slightly in mine. "Oh?" "Meridian Consulting. He said you might know something about it." A beat of silence. Todd withdrew his hand to reach for his wine glass. "They did some market analysis for us a while back. Small firm, but good work." The lie slid out so smoothly. Had he always been this good at deception, or had I just never noticed? "Funny, I don't remember approving that contract. It was during that crazy period when you were finalizing the spring collection. I handled it so you wouldn't have to worry." He smiled. "That's what partners do, right? Share the load." The food arrived. Seafood risotto for him, salmon for me. I pushed mine around the plate, stomach too knotted to eat. "You're quiet tonight," Todd observed. "Everything okay?" I met his gaze. "Just thinking about the future. How quickly things can change." "Change is good, especially when it means growth." He reached across the table again, squeezing my hand. "Trust me, this investment is going to change our lives." At least he wasn't lying about that. "I do have one concern," I said. "The business is growing so fast. I worry about losing control." "That's natural, but you can't do everything yourself forever." His thumb stroked my wrist. "Sometimes you have to delegate, let others handle the details." Like the financial details he'd been handling for months. "You're right," I said, forcing a smile. "I need to learn to let go." Todd raised his glass. "To new beginnings." I clinked my glass against his, the sound sharp in my ears. "To getting what we deserve." I called Warren from my car after dinner, hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. "It's happening," I said when he answered. "The investor story, Clayton's involvement, it's all part of their exit strategy." "Did he mention when this supposed meeting is happening?" "Next week, but I don't think they're planning to stick around that long." I swallowed hard. There was something in his eyes tonight, Warren. A finality, like he was saying goodbye without actually saying it. Where are you now? Parking outside our house. Todd's meeting Clayton for drinks. Good. I need you to do something while he's gone. Warren's voice was steady, grounding. Check his office again. Look for travel documents, confirmation emails, anything that might tell us when they're planning to leave. And if I find something, then we move now. Tonight. I ended the call and sat in the darkness, watching the house I'd once loved, the home we'd built together. Had any of it been real? My phone lit up with a text from Esme. Found something big. Need to talk ASAP. Whatever Todd was planning, it was happening fast, and I was running out of time to stop him. I met Esme at an all-night diner 30 minutes from my house, a place where neither Todd nor anyone else from our circles would accidentally spot us. She was already there when I arrived, hunched over her laptop, dark circles under her eyes. Thanks for coming, I said, sliding into the booth across from her. I wouldn't have texted if it wasn't important. She turned her laptop toward me. I've been digging through our cloud storage backups, found these emails that Todd deleted from the server. The screen showed an exchange between Todd and Daisy from just that morning. Everything's set for Friday. Tickets confirmed. Clayton has the documents ready. Friday, 2 days from now. What about H? Still suspicious, clueless as ever, too busy with her precious designs to notice what's happening right under her nose. By the time she figures it out, we'll be long gone. My hands curled into fists, clueless. The contempt in those words burned through me. There's more, Esme said quietly. Financial projections for the company after you're gone. They're planning to liquidate everything, Heidi. Sell off the inventory, the equipment, the intellectual property, even the building, my life's work, everything I'd built from nothing, reduced to numbers on a spreadsheet. How long have you known something was wrong? I asked. Esme looked down. I started noticing discrepancies about 4 months ago. Small things at first, expense reports that didn't match receipts, invoices for services we never received. I thought they were mistakes. Why didn't you come to me sooner? I tried in my way, but Todd always intercepted. Said you were too busy, that he'd handle it. She met my eyes. And then he offered me a promotion, more money, more responsibility. I think he was trying to buy my silence. Did it work? I took the promotion, she admitted, but I also started keeping records. I knew something wasn't right. The waitress came by with coffee. We fell silent until she left. What are you going to do? Esme asked. What could I do? In 2 days, Todd would be gone, along with my money and any chance of justice. I'm going to stop him, I said with more confidence than I felt. Todd was asleep when I got home, his breathing deep and even. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching him. How many nights had I lain beside him, feeling safe, protected, loved? All while he plotted to destroy me. I slipped into his office, closing the door silently behind me. The room smelled of his cologne and the leather of his desk chair. I'd always loved this smell. Now it made me nauseous. I started with his desk drawers, then moved to the filing cabinet. Nothing unusual, no plane tickets, no incriminating documents. Todd was too smart for that. His laptop sat on the desk, closed. I opened it, heart pounding, still password protected. I tried a few more combinations, his parents' names, his childhood street, before remembering something. For his birthday last year, I'd given him a vintage watch. He'd been obsessed with it, even had the serial number engraved on the back. I typed in the number. The screen unlocked. For the next hour, I combed through his emails, documents, browser history. Most were innocuous, but in a folder labeled Investment Opportunities, I found what I was looking for. Confirmation of first-class tickets to Bali. One way. Departing Friday afternoon. Not just for Todd, but for Daisy too. My hands shook as I took photos of the screen with my phone. Not just business partners then. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd expected. I was about to close the laptop when a new email notification appeared. From Clayton, sent just minutes ago. Change of plans. Audit flags raised. Need to move timeline up. Details in mourning. Audit flags. Someone had noticed the financial irregularities. The authorities might already be involved. I quickly forwarded the email to myself, then closed the laptop exactly as I'd found it. As I turned to leave, the office door opened. Todd stood there, sleep-rumpled and confused. "Heidi, what are you doing in here?" My mind raced. Looking for aspirin. Couldn't sleep. In my office. I didn't want to wake you by turning on the bathroom light. I moved toward the door. "Sorry, I'll look somewhere else." He blocked my path. "You were on my computer." "What? No, It's still warm." His voice hardened. "What were you looking for?" "Nothing. I told you. Stop lying." He grabbed my arm. "What do you know?" The mask had slipped. This wasn't the charming, supportive Todd I'd married. This was the real Todd. Cold, calculating, dangerous. "Let go of me," I said quietly. "Not until you tell me what you're doing." "I know about the money, Todd. The transfers. Meridian Consulting. All of it." His grip tightened. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I know about Daisy, the tickets to Bali, your plans to liquidate my company." Something flashed in his eyes. Surprise, then anger. "Who have you told?" "Everyone." It was a bluff, but a calculated one. "Lawyers, accountants, the police. Did you really think I wouldn't notice $500,000 missing from my accounts?" He released my arm, taking a step back. "You're making a mistake." "The mistake was trusting you." I moved past him toward the door. "I want you out of my house, tonight." "This is my house too." "Not for long." I turned to face him. "You have 1 hour to pack your things. After that, I'm calling the police." Todd's laugh was cold. "With what evidence? You think anyone will believe you over me? I've covered my tracks, Heidi. Every transfer, every document, it all has your digital signature." The realization hit me like a physical blow. He hadn't just been stealing from me. He'd been framing me. 1 hour, I repeated, my voice steadier than I felt. "Or I release everything I have to the press. How do you think your investor friends will react to that?" As I walked away, my phone buzzed with a text from Warren. "Don't confront him alone. Wait for me." Too late for that. The game had changed. And now there was no turning back. I locked myself in the guest bathroom, hands trembling as I called Warren. "He knows," I whispered. I confronted him. "He's threatening to frame me." "Where are you now?" Warren's voice was tight with concern. "Still at the house." I told him to leave, but a crash from downstairs cut me off. "He's destroying things. Get out of there. Now. I'm 20 minutes away." Another crash, followed by Todd's voice too close. "Heidi, we're not finished." "I don't think I have 20 minutes, I said, my voice barely audible. "Is there somewhere safe you can go until I get there?" I thought quickly. "Lily's place. It's 5 minutes away." "Go, I'll meet you there." I ended the call and texted Lily. "Emergency. Coming over. Todd knows." Her response was immediate. "Doors unlocked. Come straight in." I crept to the bathroom window. It was small, but I could fit through. The drop to the ground wasn't far. As I pushed it open, Todd's footsteps thundered up the stairs. "Hiding won't help," he shouted. "You've ruined everything." I squeezed through the window, scraping my hip on the frame, and dropped to the ground. Pain shot through my ankle, but I forced myself to run, car keys clutched in my hand. My car was parked on the street. I slid behind the wheel, started the engine, and peeled away just as Todd burst out the front door. Lily was waiting at her door when I arrived, pulling me inside and locking the deadbolt behind us. "Are you hurt?" she asked, noticing my limp. "Just twisted my ankle. I'm fine." I wasn't fine. Nothing was fine. "I called the police," she said, leading me to her couch. "They're sending someone." I sank onto the cushions, the adrenaline that had carried me here beginning to fade. "He's going to say I'm crazy, that I'm the one stealing money." "Let him try." Lily handed me a glass of water. "Warren called. He's bringing evidence." "What evidence?" "I don't know exactly. He just said it was enough." I took a shaky sip of water. Todd said every transfer has my digital signature. How am I supposed to fight that? Lily sat beside me. By being smarter than him, which you are. A knock at the door made us both jump. Lily checked the peephole, then opened it to admit Warren, carrying a laptop and a thick folder. "Are you all right?" he asked me. "No," I answered honestly, "but I'm here." Warren set his materials on the coffee table. "I've been building a case, tracking the money, documenting the timeline. But we need to move fast. The tickets to Bali, they're for tomorrow, not Friday." "What?" But the email said, "Misdirection, in case you were watching. They're flying out tomorrow afternoon." My stomach dropped. "Then it's over. They'll be gone. Not if we act now." Warren opened his laptop. "I've arranged a meeting for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. "With who?" "James Westfield." I stared at him. "The investor, he's not real." "No, but Todd doesn't know that we know that." Warren smiled grimly. "I have a colleague who's going to play the part. Todd thinks he's meeting his fictional investor. Instead, he'll be walking into a trap." Another knock at the door, more insistent this time. Lily checked the peephole again. "Police," she said, opening the door. 2 officers entered, a man and a woman. The woman spoke first. "We received a call about a domestic disturbance. My husband threatened me," I said. "I had to escape through a window." The male officer took notes while I explained the situation, the stolen money, the threats, the evidence of Todd's plan to flee the country. "Has he physically harmed you?" the female officer asked. He grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave bruises. I pushed up my sleeve to show the red marks. "We'll need to take a statement," she said, "and photographs of those bruises." As they documented my injuries, my phone buzzed repeatedly with texts from Todd. "You're making a terrible mistake." "I can explain everything. Come home and we'll talk this through." Then, more ominously, "You have no idea what you've started." I showed the messages to the officers. "He's escalating." "We can escort you back to collect some belongings," the female officer offered, "and file for an emergency restraining order." "Thank you, but I'm not going back there tonight." I looked at Warren. "We need to prepare for tomorrow." After the police left, Warren outlined his plan. The fake investor meeting, the evidence we'd present, the trap we'd set. "What if he doesn't show?" I asked. "He will," Warren assured me. "The prospect of one last score before he disappears, he won't be able to resist. And Daisy, Clayton, they'll be there too. All the players in one room." I thought about Todd's face when I confronted him. The cold anger, the contempt. He'd never loved me. I'd been nothing but a means to an end. "I want to be there," I said, face to face. Warren hesitated. "It could get ugly." "It's already ugly." I met his gaze steadily. This is my life he tried to destroy, my company. I need to look him in the eye when it all falls apart. Lily squeezed my hand. "Are you sure?" No, I wasn't sure. I was terrified. But beneath the fear was something stronger, a determination I hadn't known I possessed. "Tomorrow morning," I said, 9 a.m. I'll be ready." The conference room at Warren's office was deliberately intimidating, all glass and steel, with recording equipment visible in the corners. I sat at the head of the table, dressed in my most powerful outfit, a folder of evidence in front of me. Warren stood nearby, speaking quietly into his phone. "They've arrived, bringing them up now." My heart hammered against my ribs. In moments, I would face the man who had betrayed me in every possible way, the woman who had helped him, the friend who had chosen the wrong side. "Are you ready?" Warren asked. I thought about all I had lost, and all I still had to fight for. "I'm ready." The door opened. Todd entered first, his confident smile faltering when he saw me. Behind him came Daisy, then Clayton, the 3 people I had trusted most in the world. "What is this?" Todd demanded. "Where's Westfield?" I stood, steadier than I'd felt in days. "There is no Westfield, Todd. There never was." His eyes narrowed. What are you talking about? I think it's time we all told the truth, I said. Don't you? The silence in the conference room felt electric. Todd recovered first, his smile returning. That same charming, confident smile that had once made me feel special. Heidi, sweetheart, this is ridiculous. He turned to Warren. I don't know what she's told you, but my wife has been under tremendous stress lately. Her business is doing exceptionally well, I interrupted, despite your best efforts to drain it dry. I opened the folder in front of me, sliding documents across the table one by one. Transfers to offshore accounts, falsified financial statements, emails between the three of you planning your escape. I looked at each of them in turn. Did I miss anything? Clayton shifted uncomfortably. Todd, what is she talking about? She's making this up, Todd insisted. Clayton, you know me. Would I do something like this? Like register a fake consulting company to funnel money through? I pushed another document forward. Meridian Consulting's incorporation papers with Clayton's signature. Or book one-way tickets to Bali for you and Daisy. Daisy's face drained of color. Tickets for both of us? Interesting. She hadn't known about that part. First class, I confirmed. Very romantic. Todd's composure slipped. This is absurd. I want my lawyer. Excellent idea, Warren said, speaking for the first time. In fact, I've taken the liberty of contacting the authorities. They're very interested in speaking with all of you. Clayton stood abruptly. I had nothing to do with this. Todd asked me to sign some papers for a business venture, that's all. Sit down, Clayton, Todd snapped. She's bluffing. There's no evidence. I pulled out my final document, a report from the forensic accountant Warren had hired. Every transaction, every email, every falsified document, it's all here, including the ones with my forged signature. Todd's eyes darted toward the door. This is a waste of time. I'm leaving. I wouldn't, Warren said mildly. There are federal agents in the lobby. Todd froze. For the first time, real fear crossed his face. You can't prove anything, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, I can. I nodded to Warren, who pressed a button on his phone. Todd's voice filled the room. Every transfer, every document, it all has your digital signature. My own voice followed. 1 hour, or I release everything I have to the press. The recording continued, capturing every damning word from our confrontation the night before. You recorded me? Todd's face contorted with rage. That's illegal. Not in our state, Warren replied. Single-party consent. Daisy stood, her professional mask crumbling. I want immunity. I'll testify against both of them. Daisy? Todd looked betrayed. What are you doing? Saving myself. She turned to me. It was his idea, all of it. He said you'd never notice, that you were too trusting. That's enough, Clayton interrupted. No one say another word until we have legal representation. Too late. The door opened, and 2 agents entered, followed by a woman in a business suit who introduced herself as a prosecutor with the Financial Crimes Division. What followed was a blur of legal terms and procedures, statements taken, rights read. Todd, Daisy, and Clayton led away separately for questioning. Through it all, I sat perfectly still, watching the life I thought I had dissolved before my eyes. Hours later, I stood alone in the empty conference room, staring out at the city below. Warren entered quietly, closing the door behind him. They're being processed now, he said. The prosecutor is confident they have enough for an indictment. I nodded, still looking out the window. What happens to my company? It's yours, Heidi. It always was. The forensic accountant has already begun untangling the financial mess. You'll need to work closely with her, but your business will survive this. And the money they took? Some can be recovered, not all of it. He paused. I'm sorry. I turned to face him. Don't be. Money can be replaced. What will you do now? The question hung in the air. What would I do? The future I'd planned, the life I'd built with Todd, was gone. yet standing here, I felt lighter than I had in months, maybe years. "First, I'm going to change the locks," I said. "Then, I'm going to call Esme and offer her that promotion for real." Warren smiled. "And after that?" "I don't know yet." I gathered my things, suddenly eager to leave this room, this building, this chapter behind. But for the first time in a long time, I get to decide. The house felt different when I returned, emptier, but somehow less hollow. I moved through the rooms, reclaiming each space. In Todd's office, I found a framed photo of us I'd missed before, taken on our honeymoon. I studied his face, searching for signs of the deception to come. There were none, or perhaps I simply hadn't wanted to see them. My phone rang, Lily checking in. "How are you holding up?" "I'm okay," I said, surprised to find it was true. "Actually, I'm thinking about redecorating." "Bold move. What did you have in mind?" I looked around at the house Todd had largely designed, with its neutral colors and minimalist aesthetic, nothing that truly reflected me. "Everything," I said. "I'm changing everything." After we hung up, I wandered into the kitchen where it had all begun, where Lily had shown me those first damning transfers on our anniversary night. The remnants of the party had been cleared away, but a single champagne flute remained on the counter, forgotten. I picked it up, turning it in my hands. 5 years of marriage, 8 years together, a lifetime of memories, now tainted. With deliberate care, I placed the glass in the sink. Then I opened a drawer, pulled out a notepad, and began to write. Not a list of what I'd lost, but of what came next. At the top, I wrote, things that are actually mine. The business, this house, my designs, my future, and most importantly, the truth. No one could take that from me again.
I stood in my living room, staring at the wedding dress hanging from my bookshelf. 3 months of searching, and I'd finally found it. Ivory silk with delicate lace that would catch the light when I walked down the aisle. I ran my fingers over the fabric, imagining Cade's face when he saw me in it. My phone buzzed on the coffee table. Probably Regina with another question about the bachelorette party she was planning. My best friend had been texting nonstop all week, obsessing over every detail like it was her own wedding. I smiled, picking up my phone. Regina and I had been inseparable since college. The kind of friendship where you finish each other's sentences and know exactly what the other person needs before they ask. She'd cried harder than my mom when Cade proposed. The notification wasn't a text. It was an email from an address I didn't recognize. Truth, you need to know ugmail.com. The subject line read, "Before you marry him." My thumb hovered over the delete button. Spam, obviously, but something made me open it. No message, just attachments. 3 photos. The first showed Cade entering a hotel, his arm around a woman whose face I couldn't see. The timestamp read yesterday, when he was supposedly at a work conference in Chicago. My heart stuttered. I opened the second photo. The woman turned toward the camera now, laughing up at Cade. Regina. My Regina, with her hand on my fiancé's chest, looking at him the way she'd looked at no one since her divorce 3 years ago. The room tilted. I sat down hard on the couch, my legs suddenly useless. The third photo was the worst. Cade and Regina kissing in the elevator, his hands in her hair, her body pressed against his. The digital timestamp showed 11:42 p.m. I couldn't breathe. I kept staring at the image, looking for signs it was fake. But I recognized Cade's watch, the one I'd given him for his birthday, and Regina's dress, the green one she'd bought when we went shopping last month. She'd said it was for a work event. My phone buzzed again. A text from Regina. "How's the dress fitting? Can't wait to see pics. Love you." I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen cracked but still lit with her message. "Love you." I ran to the bathroom and vomited until there was nothing left but bile. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't recognize myself. My face was blotchy, mascara streaking down my cheeks. I looked like someone else, someone broken. My phone rang from where it lay on the floor. Cade's ringtone. I walked over and picked it up, staring at his name on the screen. "Hey, beautiful," he said when I answered. His voice was so normal, so Cade, that for a second I thought maybe the photos were some cruel joke. "How's my bride-to-be?" "Where are you?" My voice sounded strange, like it belonged to someone else. "Still at the conference, last session just ended. Miss me?" The lie slid so easily from his lips. Had he always been this good at lying? How many times had I believed him without question? "Layla, you there? I got some interesting photos today," I said, surprised by how calm I sounded. Silence. Then, "What photos?" "You and Regina at the Palmer Hotel, yesterday." More silence. I could hear him breathing. "Layla, I can explain." "Don't." The word came out sharp enough to cut. "Is she with you now?" "No, Don't lie to me. Not anymore." I heard movement, a door closing. Then his voice dropped to a whisper. "It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything." A laugh bubbled up from somewhere deep inside me, bitter and unrecognizable. "Which time? Yesterday? Last week? How long, Cade?" He didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Is she there?" I asked again. "Yes," he finally admitted. "But Layla, please." I ended the call and blocked his number. My phone immediately lit up with a text from Regina. "Cade just told me. We need to talk. It's not what you think." I blocked her too. Then I sank to the floor, my back against the wall, and stared at my wedding dress. All those fittings, all those plans. The venue we'd spent months finding, the honeymoon we'd saved for, the life we'd mapped out together. All of it built on lies. I don't know how long I sat there, but when I finally stood, my legs were numb and the room was dark. I walked to the dress and touched it one last time. Then I grabbed my scissors from the desk drawer. The first cut was the hardest. After that, it became easier. Satisfying, even. I sliced through silk and lace until the dress was nothing but expensive confetti on my floor. When I was done, I swept the pieces into a garbage bag, tied it shut, and placed it by the door. My phone had been silent since I'd blocked them both. But now it buzzed with an incoming call from a number I hadn't seen in months. Amber. My sister. I almost didn't answer. Amber and I hadn't spoken since Christmas, when I'd chosen to spend the holiday with Cade's family instead of hers. But right now, she was the only person in my life who had no connection to Cade or Regina. "Hey," I said, my voice hoarse. "Layla?" She sounded surprised I'd picked up. "Are you okay? You sound weird." I opened my mouth to say I was fine, my automatic response to that question for as long as I could remember. But what came out instead was the truth. "No," I said. "I'm not okay at all." I sat on a park bench, watching a couple argue near the fountain. The woman gesticulated wildly while the man stared at his shoes. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I didn't need to. Their body language told the whole story. 3 days had passed since I'd discovered Cade and Regina's betrayal. 3 days of ignoring their calls from new numbers, deleting their emails without reading them, and pretending I didn't hear the knocking when they came to my apartment. "You look like you haven't slept in days," Amber said, handing me a coffee. My sister had insisted on meeting after our call, driving 2 hours to see me. Her concern made me feel both grateful and pathetic. "Thanks," I muttered, taking the cup. "That's exactly what every woman wants to hear." Amber sat beside me, her shoulder touching mine. "Want to talk about it?" "Not really." I took a sip of coffee, burning my tongue. The pain felt good, something real to focus on. "Okay." She didn't push, and I appreciated that. We sat in silence, watching the arguing couple make up with a tearful hug. "I canceled everything," I said finally. "Venue, caterer, flowers. Most of them kept the deposits, but I don't care." "What about the ring?" I twisted the diamond on my finger. I'd forgotten it was still there. "I should probably return it. Or pawn it and buy yourself something nice." That made me smile, just a little. "Pretty sure that's illegal." "Only if you get caught." Amber bumped my shoulder with hers. Seriously, though, what's your plan? I don't have one. I pulled the ring off and dropped it into my coffee. It sank to the bottom with a satisfying plunk. I just know I can't be here right now. Everywhere I go, I see them. Come stay with me, Amber offered immediately. I have that spare room. You can hide out as long as you need. I considered it. Amber lived in a small town where no one knew me. No one would ask about the wedding or why I looked like I'd been hit by a truck. But the thought of running away made something harden inside me. I can't, I said. If I leave, it's like they win. This isn't a competition, Layla. Isn't it? I watched a group of pigeons fight over a discarded sandwich. They took everything from me. My future, my trust. If I run away, what does that make me? Human, Amber said softly. It makes you human. I was about to respond when I spotted them. Regina and Cade, walking on the path about 50 yards away. They hadn't seen us yet. Regina was talking animatedly, her hands moving as she spoke. Cade nodded, his arm around her waist. Layla? Amber followed my gaze. Oh shit, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. They looked so normal together, like any other couple enjoying the park. Had they always been this comfortable with each other, even when I was around? How had I not seen it? Let's go. Amber tugged at my arm, but I shook her off. Wait. I ducked behind a tree, pulling Amber with me. I want to hear what they're saying. This is a bad idea, but I was already moving, keeping to the trees, getting close enough to hear their conversation. Amber followed reluctantly. Told you we should have waited, Regina was saying. Now everything's a mess. What was I supposed to do? Cade sounded defensive. Once she got those photos, the wedding was off anyway. You could have been more careful about breaking it to her. Now she won't even talk to us. She'll come around. She always does. The casual confidence in his voice made me want to scream. Had I been that predictable? That easy to manipulate? I don't know. Regina sighed. You didn't see her face when she tried on that dress. She was so happy, Cade. And she'll be happy again. Just not with me. He stopped walking, turning to face her. Look, we did a shitty thing. I'm not denying that. But we can't change it now. I know. Regina's voice dropped so low I had to strain to hear. I just keep thinking about the baby. How are we going to tell her about that? The world tilted sideways. Baby? What baby? We don't have to tell her anything, Cade said. It's not her business anymore. Regina put her hand on her stomach, a gesture so instinctive it had to be real. It feels wrong, keeping it from her. She was my best friend. Was being the operative word. Trust me, the less she knows, the better. I must have made a sound because they both turned toward the trees where Amber and I were hiding. We ducked down, but it was too late. Regina had spotted us. Layla, she called, her voice uncertain. I grabbed Amber's hand and ran, ignoring Regina calling my name behind us. We didn't stop until we reached Amber's car, both of us breathing hard. Did you hear that? I gasped, bent over with my hands on my knees. She's pregnant. She's fucking pregnant with his baby. Amber unlocked the car. Get in. We need to get out of here. I slid into the passenger seat, my mind racing. Regina was pregnant. With Cade's child. A child that could have been mine if things had been different. I think I'm going to be sick, I said, rolling down the window. Just breathe, Amber advised, starting the car. Deep breaths, but I couldn't breathe. All I could think about was Regina's hand on her stomach, Cade's arm around her waist. How long had they been together behind my back? How many times had I talked to Regina about wanting children with Cade, not knowing she was already carrying his baby? As we pulled away from the park, something shifted inside me. The numbness that had enveloped me for days cracked open, revealing something hot and dangerous underneath. I need to talk to Brendan, I said suddenly. Who's Brendan? Cade's college roommate. They're still friends. I pulled out my phone. He might know how long this has been going on. Layla, what are you doing? I looked at my sister, really looked at her for the first time in days. I'm not running away, Amber. I'm not hiding. They don't get to do this to me and just walk away happy. What exactly are you planning? I didn't answer. I was too busy scrolling through my contacts, looking for Brendan's number. The gym was nearly empty at 5 a.m. Just me and the weights and the anger burning through my veins. I added another 10 pounds to the bar and positioned myself under it, ignoring the protest in my shoulders. You're going to hurt yourself, a voice said from behind me. I turned to see Marin, my coworker, watching me with concern. Her presence at this hour wasn't surprising. We'd started this early morning routine together months ago. But I hadn't expected her today. I hadn't expected anyone. I'm fine, I grunted, pushing the bar up. My arms trembled with the effort. Marin stepped forward to spot me. You don't look fine. You look like you're trying to punish your body for something your heart is feeling. I let the bar drop back onto the rack with a clang. Since when are you a therapist? Since my best friend started ghosting everyone and showing up at the gym looking like she's planning a murder. She handed me a towel. What's going on, Layla? Everyone's worried. Everyone except Cade and Regina, I muttered, wiping sweat from my face. Understanding dawned in her eyes. Oh shit, you found out. I froze. You knew? Marin looked away, guilt written across her face. I suspected. Regina's been acting weird for months. And then last week at happy hour, I saw how they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. And you didn't think to tell me? The betrayal felt fresh all over again. I'm planning a wedding with the man, and you just let me walk around clueless? I wasn't sure, she said defensively. And it wasn't my place. I thought if there was something going on, Cade should be the one to tell you. Well, he didn't. I had to find out from anonymous photos someone emailed me. I grabbed my water bottle, suddenly needing to be anywhere but here. And now she's pregnant. Marin's eyes widened. What? Are you sure? I heard them talking about it. I shouldered my gym bag. So yeah, I'm planning something. But it's not murder. It's justice. Layla, wait. She caught my arm. Whatever you're thinking about doing, don't. Just walk away. Start fresh. I yanked my arm free. That's what everyone keeps saying. Walk away. Be the bigger person. Well, I'm tired of being the bigger person. I want them to hurt like I'm hurting. And then what? Marin challenged. You think revenge will make you feel better? It won't. It'll just keep you tied to them. Thanks for the advice, I said coldly, but I've already made up my mind. I left her standing there, her concern following me out the door like an unwanted shadow. Brendan's apartment was exactly what I expected from Cade's college roommate. Minimalist furniture, gaming setup in the corner, protein powder on the kitchen counter. What I hadn't expected was how easily he'd agreed to meet me. I've been waiting for this day, he said, handing me a beer I hadn't asked for. The day you finally realized what an asshole Cade is. I set the beer down untouched. If you knew he was an asshole, why didn't you warn me? Would you have believed me? He raised an eyebrow. You were so in love you couldn't see straight. Besides, Cade and I have history. You would have thought I was just being bitter. He wasn't wrong. I would have dismissed any criticism of Cade as jealousy or misunderstanding. Love had made me stupid. So what changed? I asked. Why help me now? Brendan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Because what he's doing to you is exactly what he did to Melissa in college. And Tara after that. And probably others I don't even know about. Who's Melissa? His girlfriend before you. They were together 3 years. He cheated on her with her cousin, got the cousin pregnant, then ghosted them both. He took a swig of his beer. Sound familiar? My stomach twisted. Why are you still friends with him if he's such a monster? We're not friends. We're connected. Big difference. He shrugged. I keep tabs on him because someone should, and because I always hoped one day I could help one of his victims get even. I'm not a victim, I snapped. No? His gaze was uncomfortably direct. What would you call it then? I didn't have an answer for that. Instead, I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd received. Do you know who sent these? He barely glanced at them. No, but I can guess. Regina's not Cade's only side piece. There's a woman named Sabrina he's been seeing off and on. She works at his gym. The floor seemed to drop out from under me. There's another woman? Probably several. Cade doesn't do exclusive, even when he's engaged. Brendan's tone was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing the weather instead of the complete devastation of my life. Sabrina found out about Regina a few weeks ago. She was pissed. I tried to process this new information. Not only had Cade been cheating with my best friend, but he'd been cheating on both of us with someone else. The humiliation burned worse than any physical pain. I need to find this Sabrina, I said, more to myself than to Brendan. Already ahead of you. He slid a piece of paper across the coffee table. Her number, address, work schedule, everything you need. I stared at him. Why are you helping me like this? Something dark flashed across his face. Let's just say Cade has hurt people I care about too. And Regina's no innocent bystander. She knew exactly what she was doing. I folded the paper carefully and put it in my pocket. What do you think I should do with this information? That's up to you. He finished his beer. But if you're looking for maximum impact, wait for the baby shower. Baby shower. Regina's already planning it. 12 weeks along and already sending out save the dates to her inner circle. He smiled without humor. Cade's playing the proud father-to-be. It's quite the performance. The image of them celebrating their betrayal, surrounded by friends and gifts, made me physically ill. But beneath the nausea was something else. A cold, clear purpose. When is it? I asked. 6 weeks from now. Plenty of time to plan something they'll never forget. I stood up, suddenly certain of what I needed to do. Thank you, Brendan. This helps more than you know. He walked me to the door. Just remember something, Layla. Whatever you're planning, make sure it's worth it. Revenge comes with its own price. I thought about Cade's easy lies, Regina's hand on her stomach, the future they'd stolen from me. Some prices, I said quietly, are worth paying. Amber's apartment door swung open before I could knock a second time. Her expression shifted from irritation to surprise when she saw me standing there, overnight bag in hand. Layla, what are you doing here? You said I could stay if I needed to. I shifted uncomfortably. I need to. She stepped aside to let me in. Her apartment was smaller than mine, cluttered with art supplies and half-finished projects. The familiarity of it, the smell of oil paints and coffee, made my throat tighten. What happened? She asked, taking my bag. I thought you were determined to stay in the city. I was. I am. I sank onto her couch. But I ran into Regina at the grocery store yesterday. She tried to talk to me and I just froze. Couldn't speak, couldn't move. Just stood there like an idiot while she apologized for how things happened. What did you say? Nothing. I left my cart in the middle of the aisle and walked out. I pulled my knees to my chest. I realized I need some distance to think clearly, just for a few days. Amber nodded, disappearing into the kitchen. She returned with 2 glasses of wine, handing one to me. So, thinking clearly, she said, sitting beside me. Is that code for plotting revenge? Because your texts have been concerning. I took a long sip of wine. I'm not plotting anything. I'm gathering information. From Cade's friends? From this Sabrina person? She raised an eyebrow. That sounds like plotting to me. It's not like that. But even to my own ears, the defense sounded weak. I just want to understand what happened, how long it was going on, if everyone knew but me. And then what? What's the endgame here, Layla? I stared into my wine glass, watching the red liquid catch the light. What was my endgame? When I'd left Brendan's apartment, I'd felt so certain, so focused. But now, faced with my sister's direct question, I hesitated. I don't know, I admitted finally. I just know I can't let them get away with it. They're having a baby shower, Amber. They're celebrating while I'm picking up the pieces. And you think making them suffer will help you move on? She shook her head. That's not how healing works. Then how does it work? I demanded. Because I've tried everything else. I've blocked their numbers, avoided our usual places, thrown myself into work. But I still wake up every morning with this rage inside me. It's eating me alive. Amber was quiet for a long moment. Do you remember when Dad left? The abrupt change of subject caught me off guard. What does that have to do with anything? You were 12, I was 16. Mom was a mess, drinking too much, crying all the time. She traced the rim of her glass. I was so angry at him. I used to fantasize about ruining his new life with that woman. I even went to their house once, stood outside with a rock in my hand, ready to break their windows. I didn't know that. Because I didn't do it. She met my eyes. I realized it wouldn't change anything. He'd still be gone. Mom would still be heartbroken. And I'd just be the crazy daughter who couldn't let go. This is different, I insisted. Kate and Regina betrayed me. They lied to my face for months, maybe years. I know, and that's awful. She reached for my hand. But revenge won't undo it. It'll just keep you stuck in this moment, reliving the hurt over and over. I pulled my hand away. You don't understand. I understand better than you think. Something in her voice made me look up. Regina called me yesterday. The wine turned sour in my mouth. What? She wanted to know if you were okay. She said she's been trying to reach you. To explain. Explain what? How she fucked my fiancé? How she's carrying his child? The rage I'd been trying to contain bubbled up. What could she possibly say that would make any of this okay? She said it wasn't what I thought. Amber hesitated. She said there were things you didn't know, things Kate had kept from both of you. And you believed her? I don't know what to believe, but I think you should talk to her, hear her side before you do something you can't take back. I stood up, suddenly needing to move. I can't believe you're defending her. I'm not defending anyone. I'm worried about you. She followed me to the window. This isn't like you, Layla. Plotting revenge, obsessing over their baby shower. You're better than this. Maybe I don't want to be better, I said quietly. Maybe I'm tired of being the one who always takes the high road. Amber's reflection in the window looked pained. What exactly are you planning? I turned to face her. Regina's having her baby shower at the Gardenia in 6 weeks. It's invitation only, very exclusive. I need to be there. Why? To make a scene? To humiliate her? To show everyone who she really is. I pulled out my phone, showing her the information Brendan had given me. She's been lying to everyone, not just me. And Cade's been lying to her too. They deserve to have those lies exposed. Amber read through the notes, her expression growing more troubled. Layla, this is a lot. Have you verified any of this? Not yet, but I will. I took the phone back. That's why I need to stay here. I need space from them to put the pieces together. She was quiet for a long moment, studying my face. You know I'll always have your back, but I'm scared this path you're on will hurt you more than it hurts them. I'm already hurt, I said simply. Nothing could make it worse. The look she gave me was so full of sadness it made me want to cry. That's what I'm afraid of, that you believe that. My phone buzzed with a text. Unknown number, but I knew immediately who it was from. Got your number from Brendan. We should talk. I know things about Cade and Regina that will make your revenge so much sweeter. Meet me tomorrow? Sabrina. I looked up at Amber, decision made. I need to borrow your car tomorrow. Where are you going? To meet someone who understands what I'm going through. I put my phone away. Someone who won't tell me to take the high road. Sabrina wasn't what I expected. I'd imagined someone like Regina. Polished, perfect, the kind of woman men leave their fiancés for. Instead, the woman who slid into the booth across from me had purple hair, tattoos crawling up her arms, and eyes that had seen too much. "You must be Layla," she said, flagging down a waitress. "You look exactly like your Instagram photos." I shifted uncomfortably. "How long have you been stalking my social media?" "Since I found out about you." She ordered a black coffee, then studied me openly. 6 months ago, right after I found out about Regina." 6 months. The timeline hit me like a physical blow. 6 months ago, Kate and I were planning our wedding. 6 months ago, I still believed in forever. "So you've known about both of us all this time?" I asked when the waitress left. "Knew about you. Suspected Regina." Sabrina shrugged. "Cade's not exactly subtle when he's juggling women. The constant texting, the mysterious work emergencies, the way he keeps his phone face down. All behaviors I'd noticed but dismissed. Trust makes you blind. Or stupid. Maybe both." "Why did you stay with him once you knew? Why does anyone stay in a bad situation? I thought I could change him." She laughed without humor. "Plus, the sex was incredible. I'm not going to apologize for that." I flinched. The thought of Cade with other women still felt like a knife twisting in my gut. "Look," Sabrina continued, "I didn't ask you here to compare notes on Cade's bedroom skills. I asked you here because I have information you can use." "What kind of information?" She pulled out her phone and showed me a series of text messages between her and Cade. Recent ones, dated after I'd discovered his betrayal. "He's freaking out," she explained. "Regina's pregnancy wasn't part of his plan. He thought he could keep stringing both of you along indefinitely." I scanned the messages, my heart pounding. Cade complaining about Regina's mood swings. Cade wondering if the baby was really his. Cade suggesting Sabrina meet him at a hotel while Regina was at a doctor's appointment. "He's still seeing you?" I looked up, incredulous. "Occasionally, when he can get away from her." Sabrina took her phone back. "Regina thinks she's won, that she's the one he chose. She has no idea he's already looking for his next escape route. The revelation should have brought satisfaction. Proof that Regina wasn't special either, just another woman Cade was using. Instead, I felt a strange, unexpected pang of sympathy for her. She was pregnant with the child of a man who would never be faithful. "Does she know about you?" I asked. "No, and that's where my plan comes in." Sabrina leaned forward, eyes gleaming. The baby shower. It's the perfect opportunity to expose everything. I have texts, photos, hotel receipts. Enough evidence to destroy both of them in front of everyone they care about. The eagerness in her voice made me uneasy. This wasn't about justice for her. It was about inflicting maximum pain. "I don't know," I said slowly. "That seems, what, too harsh?" She scoffed. "After what they did to you? They deserve worse." Maybe they did. But sitting across from Sabrina, seeing the raw hatred in her eyes, I glimpsed a possible future version of myself. Bitter, vengeful, defined by someone else's betrayal. The thought terrified me. "I need to think about this," I said, standing up. "It's a lot to process." "Don't take too long." Sabrina's voice hardened. "The shower's in 5 weeks, and if you're not interested in my plan, I'll do it myself." I left the cafe feeling shaken, my certainty crumbling. The revenge I'd been plotting suddenly seemed hollow, a path leading nowhere good. I found Quentin in the community garden behind Amber's apartment building, kneeling in the dirt, coaxing stubborn weeds from between tomato plants. I'd met him briefly when I arrived. Amber's new neighbor, the elementary school teacher with kind eyes who'd offered to show me around town. "Need some help?" I asked, approaching cautiously. He looked up, surprised. "Layla, hey." "Sure, if you don't mind getting dirty." I knelt beside him, grateful for the simple task. We worked in companionable silence for a while, the repetitive motion of pulling weeds strangely soothing. "Rough day?" he asked eventually. "How can you tell?" "You're attacking those weeds like they personally offended you." His smile was gentle, without pity. "Plus, Amber mentioned you're going through something." "Did she tell you what?" just that someone hurt you badly. He sat back on his heels. I don't need details. Sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger anyway. The kindness in his voice nearly undid me. I'd been holding myself together with anger for so long, I'd forgotten what genuine compassion felt like. I met someone today, I said, focusing on a particularly stubborn dandelion. Someone who's been hurt by the same person who hurt me. She wants revenge. She wants to destroy them publicly. And you don't? I thought I did. I yanked the dandelion free, roots and all. Now I'm not so sure. Quentin was quiet for a moment. Can I tell you something? When my ex-wife left me for my best friend, I spent months planning ways to get back at them. I fantasized about exposing their affair to her conservative parents, about showing up at their housewarming party, about ruining their lives. Did you do it? No, because I realized something important. He met my eyes. Revenge requires you to keep carrying the pain, to keep reliving the betrayal. It chains you to the very people who hurt you. His words hit too close to home. So what did you do instead? I moved here, started over, found joy in small things. He gestured to the garden. It wasn't easy. Some days I still get angry, but I'm not defined by what they did anymore. I looked down at my dirt-covered hands. I don't know if I can let it go that easily. Who said anything about easy? He stood, offering me a hand up. But maybe there's a middle ground between destructive revenge and passive forgiveness. Something that lets you reclaim your power without becoming someone you don't recognize. As I took his hand, my phone buzzed with a text from Sabrina. Made contact with Regina. She has no idea who I am. Baby shower invitations going out next week. Are you in or out? The deadline loomed before me, forcing a decision I wasn't ready to make. But looking at Quentin's open, honest face, I knew I couldn't follow Sabrina down her path of destruction. I need to make a call, I said, brushing dirt from my jeans. Thanks for the perspective. Anytime, he replied. Some weeds are worth pulling. Others just make room for something better to grow. You did what? Amber's voice rose an octave, echoing through her small kitchen. I continued stirring the pasta sauce, refusing to meet her eyes. I sent Regina a congratulations card. For the baby. Why would you do that? I thought you were trying to move on. I am, I said, tasting the sauce. Needed more salt. But I also need closure. And a cryptic card provides that how exactly? I added salt, stirred again. It wasn't cryptic. It was strategic. I signed it, looking forward to celebrating with you, and included my new number. Amber stared at me like I'd grown a second head. You're planning to go to her baby shower? The event celebrating the child she's having with your ex-fiancé? Have you lost your mind? Maybe I had. The past week had been a blur of conflicting emotions. Rage giving way to grief, giving way to a strange, cold clarity. After my conversation with Quentin in the garden, I'd called Sabrina and told her I wasn't interested in her scorched earth approach. She'd been furious, threatening to move forward without me. But something told me her plan would fall apart without my involvement. I'm not going to make a scene, I assured Amber. I just need to see them together, to understand what happened. For my own peace of mind. Bullshit. Amber crossed her arms. You're still plotting something. I can see it in your eyes. I turned off the stove. Think what you want. But Regina texted me this morning. She wants to meet. And you agreed? I did. I poured the sauce over the pasta. Tomorrow at that cafe near the park. She says she has things to explain. Amber's expression softened. Are you sure you're ready for that? No, I wasn't sure. The thought of facing Regina made my stomach churn. But I'd spent 3 weeks hiding in Amber's apartment, working remotely and avoiding social media. It was time to confront reality. I need to hear what she has to say, I said simply, even if it's just more lies. Amber didn't look convinced, but she dropped the subject as we sat down to eat. The conversation shifted to safer topics. Her latest art commission, my work projects, Quentin's invitation for me to join the community garden committee. It wasn't until after dinner, as we washed dishes side by side, that Amber spoke again about Regina. "Just promise me something," she said, handing me a plate to dry. "Whatever you're planning, be careful. Not just of them, but of yourself. Revenge changes people, and rarely for the better." I took the plate, remembering Sabrina's bitter eyes, the hatred that seemed to consume her. "I know. I promise I'm not turning into her." "Into who?" "No one." I put the plate away. "Just someone I met who's been down this road before." The cafe was crowded when I arrived, but I spotted Regina immediately. She sat in a corner booth, hands wrapped around a mug of tea, looking smaller than I remembered. Her pregnancy was visible now, a gentle curve beneath her sweater. She saw me approaching and straightened, her face a mixture of hope and fear. "Layla, you came." I said I would. I slid into the booth across from her, maintaining as much distance as possible. "You said you wanted to explain." Regina nodded, her fingers tightening around her mug. "I do. But first I need to say I'm sorry. What I did was unforgivable." "Then why do it?" The question came out sharper than I intended. "It's complicated." She looked down. "Kate and I, it wasn't planned. It just happened." "Things like that don't just happen, Regina. You make choices." "I know." Her voice was barely audible. "And I made terrible ones. I betrayed your trust in the worst possible way." I studied her face, searching for the friend I'd once loved like a sister. All I saw was a stranger wearing her features. "How long?" I asked. She hesitated. 8 months. 8 months. While I was planning our wedding, picking out flowers, writing vows, Cade had been sleeping with my best friend. The betrayal felt fresh all over again, a wound reopened. "Did you love him?" I wasn't sure why I needed to know, but I did. I thought I did. Regina's eyes filled with tears. "But now I don't know. He's not who I thought he was." Something in her tone made me pause. "What do you mean?" She wiped her eyes. "After you found out, when we finally got together officially, things changed. He became distant, secretive, always on his phone, always working late." I felt a bitter laugh bubble up. "Let me guess. You think he's cheating on you." "I know he is." She pulled out her phone, showing me a series of text messages. "With someone named Sabrina. I found these last week." Seeing Sabrina's name on Regina's phone was surreal. The messages were explicit, leaving no doubt about their relationship. But what caught my attention was the timestamp. 2 days after my meeting with Sabrina, when she'd claimed Cade was trying to escape from Regina. "How did you find these?" I asked. "I checked his phone while he was in the shower." Regina looked ashamed. "I know it was wrong, but I had this feeling. And then I found so much more. Messages to other women, dating apps, even..." She swallowed hard. "Even messages about me saying the baby might not be his." "Is it?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. "Of course it is." Her indignation seemed genuine. "I've never been with anyone else. That's what makes his accusation so horrible." I sat back, processing this new information. If Regina was telling the truth, Cade had been manipulating all of us. Me, Regina, Sabrina, probably others I didn't even know about. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked finally. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing." She reached across the table, then thought better of it and withdrew her hand. "I just thought you deserved to know the truth, and..." She hesitated. "I got your card. About the baby shower." "What about it?" "Did you mean it? About wanting to celebrate with me?" The question hung between us, loaded with implications. This was my opening, the opportunity I'd been waiting for. But looking at Regina, pregnant, betrayed, vulnerable, I felt my carefully constructed plan wavering. "I don't know," I answered honestly. "Part of me wants to support you because we were friends for so long. Another part can't forget what you did." Regina nodded slowly. "I understand. but if you did want to come, it would mean a lot to me. As I left the cafe, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. DNA test results confirm what we suspected. Baby isn't Cade's. I have proof. Meet me tonight if you want the full story. This changes everything. Brendan. I stared at the message, my heart racing. If the baby wasn't Cade's, whose was it? And why would Regina lie about something so fundamental? The answers were within reach. All I had to do was meet Brendan and get the proof. Then I could decide what to do with it. Expose them at the shower as originally planned, or find another way to use this information. Either way, there was no turning back now. The gardenia was transformed for Regina's baby shower. Soft pink and gold decorations, floral arrangements on every surface, a table piled high with wrapped gifts. Women in sundresses mingled, champagne flutes in hand, their laughter rising and falling like waves. I stood just inside the entrance, my heart hammering against my ribs, the envelope in my purse feeling impossibly heavy. You came. Regina appeared beside me, her face lighting up with genuine surprise. She wore a flowing dress that accentuated her pregnancy, making her look both vulnerable and radiant. I wasn't sure you would. I said I would. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, too calm for the storm raging inside me. Congratulations. She touched her stomach reflexively. Thank you. It means a lot that you're here. I nodded, unable to form words around the knot in my throat. 3 weeks had passed since our cafe meeting. 3 weeks of sleepless nights and endless debates with myself about what to do with the information Brendan had given me. Come meet everyone, Regina said, taking my elbow gently. Some of the girls from college are here. They've been asking about you. I let her guide me through the crowd, nodding at familiar faces, accepting hugs from women I'd once considered friends. They all seemed surprised to see me, their eyes darting between Regina and me with barely concealed curiosity. Is Cade here? I asked, scanning the room. Not yet. He had a work thing, but he promised to stop by. Regina's smile tightened slightly. You know how he is with schedules. I did know. It was one of the many things about him I'd overlooked, excused, rationalized away. His perpetual lateness, his vague explanations, his ability to make you feel like you were overreacting when you questioned him. Layla? A voice behind me made me turn. Marin stood there, champagne in hand, looking as shocked as if she'd seen a ghost. What are you doing here? I invited her. Regina answered before I could. We're working things out. Marin's eyes narrowed with suspicion. She pulled me aside as soon as Regina was distracted by another guest. What are you playing at? She hissed. Last time we talked, you were plotting revenge. Now you're at her baby shower like you're best friends again? I took a deep breath. Things have changed. Changed how? Before I could answer, a commotion at the door drew everyone's attention. Cade had arrived, all smiles and charm, carrying a bouquet of roses. He froze when he saw me, his confident facade cracking for just a moment before he recovered. Layla, he said, approaching cautiously. This is unexpected. Is it? I kept my voice light. Regina invited me. We've been talking. His eyes darted to Regina, who was watching us intently from across the room. Have you? About what? Old times. New beginnings. I smiled, the expression feeling foreign on my face. The baby. Something flickered in his eyes. Fear, maybe, or calculation. Right. The baby. Congratulations, by the way. I raised my voice slightly, ensuring nearby guests could hear. You must be so excited to become a father. He shifted uncomfortably. Yeah, it's a big change. The biggest. I sipped my water. I was just telling Regina how amazing it is that you're stepping up, taking responsibility. Not every man would. Cade's smile became strained. Well, you know me. Always doing the right thing. Do I know you, Cade? I'm not sure I ever did. Before he could respond, Regina called for everyone's attention. It was time for gifts. I watched as she settled into a decorated chair, Cade standing awkwardly beside her, his eyes constantly drifting to his phone. One by one, guests presented their offerings: tiny clothes, handmade blankets, practical items for new parents. Each gift was met with appropriate oohs and ahs, Regina's gratitude seeming genuine despite the tension radiating from Cade. Finally, it was my turn. I approached them slowly, aware of every eye in the room on me. "I wasn't sure what to get you," I said, handing Regina the envelope from my purse. "But I think this is something you both need." Regina looked confused but opened it, pulling out the document inside. Her face paled as she read, her hands beginning to tremble. "What is it?" Cade asked, reaching for the paper. "DNA results," Regina whispered, looking up at me with wide, frightened eyes. "How did you get this?" "Does it matter?" I kept my voice gentle. "What matters is what it says." Cade snatched the paper, scanning it quickly. His expression hardened. "This is bullshit. It's fake." "It's not," I said calmly. "I had it verified by 2 separate labs. The baby isn't yours, Cade." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Regina clutched her stomach protectively, tears streaming down her face. "You're lying," Cade spat. "She wouldn't cheat on me." The irony of his indignation almost made me laugh. "Like you cheated on me? On her? On Sabrina?" His face went slack at Sabrina's name. "How do you know about Sabrina?" I finished for him. "We've met, compared notes. She's been quite helpful, actually." Regina stood shakily. "Who's Sabrina?" "Ask him," I said. "Ask him about all the women he's been seeing while you've been planning this baby shower. While you've been going to doctor's appointments alone. While you've been believing his lies." The room had gone completely silent, everyone frozen in place, witnessing the implosion of carefully constructed deceptions. "Is it true?" Regina asked Cade, her voice breaking. "Have you been cheating on me too?" His silence was answer enough. Regina turned to me, devastation written across her face. "And the baby?" she whispered. "If it's not his, then whose?" I took a deep breath. The moment I'd been planning for weeks finally here. But looking at Regina, broken, humiliated, surrounded by witnesses to her shame, I couldn't deliver the final blow I'd intended. "That's between you and the father," I said quietly. "I just thought you deserved to know the truth about Cade before you tied your life to his permanently." Regina nodded slowly, tears still falling. "Thank you," she said, so softly I almost didn't hear it. Cade looked between us, realization dawning. "You planned this," he accused me. "You set this whole thing up to humiliate me." "No, Cade," I replied, a strange calm settling over me. "You did this to yourself. I just made sure everyone could see who you really are." As he stormed out, phone already pressed to his ear, I felt no triumph, no vindication. Only a profound relief that I was no longer carrying the weight of his betrayal alone. Regina sank back into her chair, her friends rushing to surround her with comfort and questions. I stood apart, watching the scene unfold, feeling strangely disconnected from it all. Maren appeared at my side. "That wasn't what I expected," she said quietly. "Me neither." I turned to leave, my purpose here fulfilled. "Layla," Regina called out, stopping me. Our eyes met across the room, hers full of tears, mine finally clear. "Why didn't you tell them everything? About the baby's father?" I smiled sadly. "Because some truths aren't mine to tell." The sunrise painted Amber's garden in gold and pink, dew glistening on the plants we'd spent weeks nurturing. I knelt in the soft earth, transplanting seedlings from their small containers into the ground. The work was methodical, soothing. Press fingers into soil, create space, place roots gently, cover, water, repeat. "I thought I'd find you out here," Quentin said, approaching with 2 steaming mugs. "Coffee?" I accepted gratefully, the warmth seeping through my dirt-stained gloves. Thanks. I couldn't sleep. Baby shower aftermath? He settled beside me, careful not to disturb the newly planted seedlings. Something like that. I hadn't told him everything about yesterday's confrontation, just that I'd attended Regina's shower and things had gotten intense. It didn't go exactly as planned. Your revenge, you mean? I looked up, surprised. How did you know? I didn't for sure, but I recognized the look in your eyes when you talked about them. He shrugged. I had that same look once. We sat in comfortable silence, watching the garden come alive with morning light. I'd been staying in Amber's guest room for nearly 2 months now, longer than I'd initially planned. Somehow, this small town had become a refuge, and Quentin, with his quiet understanding and gentle humor, had become a friend when I needed one most. Regina called me last night, I said finally, after everyone left. What did she want? To thank me, strangely enough. I traced the rim of my mug. She said I could have destroyed her completely, but I didn't. Quentin raised an eyebrow. Could you have? I nodded slowly. The DNA test wasn't the only information I had. I knew who the real father was, too. And you didn't reveal it. No. I remembered Regina's face when I'd handed her the envelope. The fear, the shame, the silent pleading in her eyes. It wouldn't have served any purpose except humiliation. She's going to have enough to deal with. That's surprisingly compassionate, considering everything. Maybe. I pulled off my gloves, examining the dirt embedded under my fingernails. Or maybe I just realized I didn't want to be the person who could do that to someone else, even if they deserved it. My phone buzzed with a text. Brendan asking if I'd gone through with the plan. I ignored it, just as I'd ignored Sabrina's angry messages after the shower. Their hunger for destruction no longer matched my own. What happens now? Quentin asked. I don't know. I set my empty mug on the ground. I've been hiding here, focusing all my energy on revenge. Now that it's over, I'm not sure what comes next. You could stay, he suggested, his voice carefully neutral. Amber mentioned you've been working remotely. You could do that from here permanently. The idea was tempting. This quiet life, this garden, this man with kind eyes who never pushed too hard. But something inside me resisted. I can't keep hiding, I said finally. I need to go back, face my life. That's not hiding, Quentin countered. That's running. Before I could respond, Amber appeared at the garden gate, her expression serious. Layla, someone's here to see you. My heart stuttered. Cade? No. Amber stepped aside, revealing Regina standing behind her, looking small and uncertain in the morning light. I stood, brushing soil from my knees. Regina, what are you doing here? I needed to talk to you. Her eyes were red-rimmed from crying, but her voice was steady. Properly talk, not just on the phone. Quentin squeezed my shoulder as he passed. I'll give you two some space. When we were alone, Regina approached cautiously, as if expecting me to send her away. I'm sorry for showing up like this. Amber gave me the address. It's fine. I gestured to the garden bench. Do you want to sit? She nodded gratefully, lowering herself onto the bench with one hand protectively over her stomach. We sat in awkward silence, the weight of our shared history hanging between us. Cade's gone, she said finally. He packed his things last night and left. No explanation, no goodbye. Just a text saying he needed space. I'm sorry. And surprisingly, I meant it. Don't be. You were right about him. She looked down at her hands. About everything, really. I just couldn't see it. Neither could I admitted. Not for a long time. Regina took a deep breath. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you months ago. I tensed, preparing for another revelation. Another betrayal. The baby's father, she began, then faltered. It's Marcus. The name hit me like a physical blow. Marcus? My brother? She nodded, tears spilling over. It happened after your engagement party. We were both drunk, both feeling, I don't know, left behind maybe? It was just once. Then I met Cade at that charity event, and he was so charming, so interested. Does Marcus know? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. No, we haven't spoken since that night. She wiped her eyes. I was too ashamed to tell him, too afraid of what you would think. The irony was almost too much. All this time, all this pain, all this plotting. And the truth was more complicated than I could have imagined. Are you going to tell him? I asked. I don't know. She looked at me directly for the first time. Should I? The question hung between us, loaded with implications. This wasn't just about Regina and Marcus anymore. It was about a child, my niece or nephew, who deserved to know their father. Yes, I said finally. He should know. And for what it's worth, Marcus has always wanted to be a father. Relief washed over her face. Thank you. For that. And for yesterday. You could have exposed everything, but you didn't. I almost did. I admitted. That was my plan all along. To humiliate you both publicly. To make you feel as betrayed as I felt. What changed? I looked around at the garden. At the tiny seedlings I'd just planted. At the life slowly taking root. I did. I realized revenge wouldn't undo what happened. It would just keep me trapped in that moment forever. Regina reached for my hand hesitantly. I let her take it, feeling the strange circle we'd traveled. From friends to enemies to something new I couldn't yet name. I don't expect forgiveness, she said quietly. I know what I did was unforgivable. Maybe. I squeezed her hand once before letting go. But maybe forgiveness isn't what matters most. Maybe it's finding a way forward that doesn't let the past define you. As she left, promising to call Marcus, I returned to my seedlings. The last one was struggling, its stem bent nearly to breaking. Carefully, I staked it upright, giving it the support it needed to grow toward the light. Quentin reappeared, watching me work. Everything okay? Not yet, I said, patting the soil around the fragile plant. But it will be. I stood, surveying the garden we'd created from nothing but dirt and hope. Some plants were thriving, others struggling, all of them reaching for something better than where they began. I think I'm ready to go home now, I said, feeling the truth of it settle in my bones. Not to run away or hide, just to start again. Need company for the drive? Quentin asked, his offer simple and undemanding. I smiled, really smiled, for what felt like the first time in months. I'd like that. The morning light strengthened around us, illuminating the path ahead. Not perfect or painless, but mine to choose, one step at a time.
I ordered champagne for the entire office. The expensive kind because some moments demand extravagance. When the board calls you at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday to offer you the CEO position you've worked toward for 12 years, you don't celebrate with Prosecco. To Tinsley! Olive raised her glass, her eyes crinkling with pride. The youngest CEO in Meridian's history, and the first woman to break that ceiling. The conference room erupted in cheers. I soaked in the moment, letting the validation wash over me. For once, I didn't deflect the praise or minimize my accomplishment. I'd earned this. All those missed birthdays, canceled vacations, and 3 a.m. strategy sessions had finally paid off. Speech, someone called out. I straightened my blazer and cleared my throat. I promised to keep this short because we have actual work to do. Laughter rippled through the room. When I started here, I was just trying to survive. My parents were gone, I had student loans crushing me, and I just needed to prove, to myself more than anyone, that I could stand on my own. My voice caught unexpectedly. I hadn't planned to get emotional, but 12 years of grinding suddenly compressed into this single moment. But you all became more than colleagues. You became my family. I raised my glass. So this isn't my achievement, it's ours. And I promise to lead Meridian with the same dedication and heart that each of you brings every day. The door swung open as I finished. Sarah strode in, fashionably late as always, her smile dazzling. My best friend since business school, the one person who'd seen me through every professional battle and personal crisis. Sorry I'm late,
She breezed in, accepting a glass from Peyton. Traffic was a nightmare, but I wouldn't miss celebrating my best friend for anything. I moved to hug her, but she stepped toward the center of the room instead, tapping her glass with a pen. While we're all gathered, I actually have an announcement of my own. Sarah's voice carried that musical quality that always commanded attention. I wanted Tinsley to hear this from me personally. Something in her tone made my stomach tighten. The board called me this morning. Her smile widened. They've appointed me as Meridian's new CEO, effective immediately. The champagne turned sour in my mouth. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, the just kidding that never came. There must be some mistake, I said, my voice unnaturally calm. The board called me this morning, Chairman Elliott himself. Sarah's expression shifted to something resembling pity. Oh, Tins, that was the preliminary call. They wanted your input as a valued executive, but the final decision came down after further deliberation. The room had gone completely silent. Faces turned from Sarah to me, then awkwardly away. That's not possible, I said, louder now. I have the offer letter. I've already accepted. You received a draft, Sarah corrected, her voice gentle but firm. If you check your email, you'll see the board's final communication. They felt my connections with Westridge Investments would better position Meridian for the merger. My phone was already in my hand, email open. There it was, a message from Chairman Elliott sent 30 minutes ago. Subject line, CEO position update. I scanned it quickly, each word a fresh cut. After careful consideration, alternative candidate, appreciate your continued contributions, regret any miscommunication. You knew. The realization hit me like physical pain. You knew they were considering you when I told you about my call this morning. Sarah's smile faltered slightly. Business is business, Tins. You've always been brilliant at operations, but leadership requires political savvy. The board needs someone who can navigate the social aspects of the role. Social aspects? I echoed, disbelief making my voice shake. You mean your father's golf buddies on the Westridge board? She shrugged, not even bothering to deny it. Connections matter, always have. 12 years of friendship. Countless nights spent on her couch when work ran late. I'd been the maid of honor at her engagement party last month. And all that time. You let me plan this celebration, I said, the pieces clicking together. You knew they were going to give you the position, and you let me order champagne and invite everyone. I thought it would be easier this way, Sarah said, glancing around the room. A chance for a smooth transition. We're still a team, Tins. Roslyn from marketing slipped out of the room. Others followed, murmuring excuses. Only Olive remained beside me, her hand on my arm. Congratulations, Sarah, Peyton said, breaking the awful silence. When do you want to schedule the formal announcement? And just like that, they moved on. Sarah began outlining her vision while I stood frozen, champagne glass still in hand, watching my future dissolve. I set down my glass with deliberate care and walked out. In the hallway, tears blurred my vision, but I refused to let them fall until I reached the privacy of the restroom. Olive followed me in. Tinsley. She planned this, I whispered, gripping the edge of the sink. She used our friendship to climb over me. What are you going to do? Olive asked. I met my own gaze in the mirror, watching as something hardened behind my eyes. 12 years of work, a lifetime of proving myself, all stolen in an instant by the one person I trusted most. I wiped away a single tear that had escaped. This isn't over. 3 days. I'd spent 3 days in my apartment with the blinds drawn, ignoring calls and living on delivery food I barely tasted. My laptop remained closed. What was the point? 12 years of work, and Sarah had erased it all with a smile. I scrolled through our text history. Years of inside jokes, late-night pep talks, celebration emojis. Had any of it been real? The last message from her sat unanswered. We should talk when you're ready. This doesn't have to change anything between us. Didn't have to change anything? She'd stolen my life and expected what? That we'd still meet for Sunday brunch? My doorbell rang. I ignored it. It rang again, followed by persistent knocking. I know you're in there, Tinsley. Olive's voice called through the door. I brought food from that Thai place you like. Open up or I'm using the emergency key. I shuffled to the door in the same sweatpants I'd worn since leaving the office. Olive took one look at me, and her expression shifted from concern to alarm. Jesus, Tinsley. She pushed past me, setting down bags of food. When's the last time you showered? I shrugged. What day is it? Friday. She opened my blinds, and I winced at the sunlight. You've missed 3 days of work. Does it matter? I'm clearly dispensable. Olive turned to face me, hands on hips. So that's it? Sarah wins because you're hiding in your apartment feeling sorry for yourself? What exactly am I supposed to do? My voice cracked. She had this planned for months. The board already made their decision. And you're just going to accept that? Olive began unpacking containers of food. The Tinsley I know would fight. Fight how? Sarah's father practically owns Westridge. She's been working angles I didn't even know existed. Then find new angles. Olive shoved a plate of pad thai toward me. Eat. You can't think when you're starving. I took a reluctant bite, suddenly realizing how hungry I was. As I ate, Olive moved around my apartment, picking up discarded takeout containers and opening windows. You know what bothers me most? I said between bites. I keep replaying every conversation, every confidence I shared with her. All those times I told Sarah about my ideas, my strategies. I set down my fork as realization dawned. Oh my God. What? The Westridge merger. 3 months ago, I told Sarah about finding inconsistencies in their financial projections. She dismissed it, said I was overthinking. I stood up, pacing now. What if she's been feeding them information? What if she's been undermining me all along? Olive watched me carefully. That's a serious accusation. Is it? She let me plan a celebration for a job she knew I wouldn't get. What wouldn't she do? My phone buzzed with a text. Sarah again. The team misses you. When are you coming back? I threw my phone onto the couch. She's texting like nothing happened, like we're still friends. Maybe that's your advantage, Olive said quietly. She thinks you're broken. I stopped pacing. What? Sarah expects you to either quit or come crawling back, tail between your legs. She doesn't expect you to fight. For the first time in days, I felt something other than despair, a flicker of determination. Even if I wanted to fight, where would I start? Olive pulled out her phone. With this. She showed me an email. I forwarded this to myself before I left that day. It's the original offer letter they sent you. I scanned it quickly. This doesn't help. Sarah already explained it away as a draft. Look at the signature block. That's not how drafts are sent. And look at the timestamp. It came after the board's final meeting, not before. My heart began to race. So they did officially offer me the position. And then rescinded it after Sarah got involved. Olive's eyes narrowed. The question is, what did she tell them to change their minds so dramatically? I sat down at my laptop, opening it for the first time in days. I need to find out what happened in those hours between my offer and the reversal. You'll need allies, Olive warned. Sarah has the board's ear now. Roslyn from marketing, I said, remembering how she'd looked at Sarah during the announcement. She's never liked Sarah. And Peyton, he's always played both sides. He might know something. What about Reggie in legal? He's been asking about you. I glanced up, surprised. Reggie? We barely talk. He's been concerned. Said something about the legality of rescinding an accepted offer. I hadn't considered the legal angle. I'll talk to him Monday. So you're coming back? Olive smiled. Yes. I straightened my shoulders. But not as the defeated ex-almost CEO. If Sarah wants to play dirty, she's about to learn I can get my hands dirty too. As Olive left, I opened my email, searching for any communications about the Westridge merger. Something caught my eye. An email chain I'd been copied on by mistake, quickly recalled by the sender. I'd never opened it, until now. The subject line read, Re Valdez Concerns, Containment Strategy. My hands trembled as I clicked. There it was, proof that Sarah had been working against me for months. The email mentioned neutralizing Valdez's objections to the merger and alternative leadership more aligned with Westridge's vision. I stared at the screen, ice replacing the blood in my veins. This wasn't just opportunism. This was calculated betrayal. Monday morning, I walked into Meridian with my head high and a knot in my stomach. The office felt different, like walking into your home after a break-in. Everything looked the same but felt violated. Tinsley! Peyton spotted me first, his surprise poorly concealed. Good to have you back. I smiled tightly. Wouldn't miss work for the world. Whispers followed me to my office. My same office, thankfully, though I half expected to find my things in boxes. Inside, I found a handwritten note on my desk. Tins, let's grab lunch and catch up. So glad you're back. S. I crumpled it and tossed it in the trash. The familiar gesture felt hollow now, knowing what I knew. I opened my computer and began methodically searching for more evidence of Sarah's manipulation. A knock at my door interrupted me. Reggie from legal stood there, his tall frame awkward in my doorway. Hey, he said quietly. Got a minute? I gestured to the chair across from me. Reggie and I had worked together on contracts for years, but our relationship had always been strictly professional. I'd never noticed how his eyes crinkled at the corners when he was concerned. Olive mentioned you might need some legal perspective, he said, closing the door behind him. I'm not sure I'm ready to pursue legal action, I replied carefully. I'm not here as Meridian's lawyer right now. He leaned forward. This is off the record, as a colleague who respects your work. I studied him, weighing my options. What do you know about the CEO appointment process? I know the board voted unanimously for you initially. I drafted the offer letter myself. My heart skipped. Then what happened? Reggie hesitated. There was an emergency board meeting the next morning. I wasn't included, but I know Sarah presented something that changed their minds. Do you know what? He shook his head. But I can tell you this. Rescinding a formally accepted offer is legally questionable. If you wanted to challenge it, you'd have grounds. At what cost? My career would be over. Maybe. His eyes met mine. Or maybe you'd expose something the board needs to know before this merger goes through. I was about to respond when my phone buzzed with a text from Roslyn. Need to talk. Women's restroom, 3rd floor, now. I have to go, I told Reggie. Thank you for this. He nodded. Be careful, Tinsley. Sarah has more allies than you think. The 3rd floor restroom was rarely used. Perfect for a private conversation. Roslyn was checking under stall doors when I arrived. We're clear, she said, locking the main door. I don't have much time. What's going on? Sarah's called an all-hands meeting for this afternoon. She's announcing accelerated merger plans with Westridge. My stomach dropped. That's too fast. We haven't completed due diligence. Exactly. Roslyn lowered her voice. And I found something when preparing the marketing materials. The numbers don't add up. Westridge is overstating their client base by at least 30%. The same discrepancy I found months ago, I murmured. I told Sarah about it. Well, she's buried it. The board presentation omits all those details. Roslyn handed me a flash drive. This has the original data sets before they were cleaned up for the board. I stared at the tiny device. Why are you helping me? Roslyn's expression hardened. 2 years ago, I was up for the marketing director position. Sarah told me in confidence that I shouldn't apply, that I wasn't ready. I later found out she'd recommended someone else while pretending to support me. Another victim of Sarah's manipulations. Thank you for this. Be smart about how you use it, she warned. Sarah's already framing you as emotionally unstable after your absence. Perfect. Not only had Sarah stolen my position, she was now undermining my credibility. I spent the next 2 hours analyzing the data Roslyn had provided. The discrepancies were worse than I'd initially thought. Westridge wasn't just inflating numbers, they were hiding significant debt. This merger would be disastrous for Meridian. At 2 p.m., I slipped into the back of the conference room for Sarah's all-hands meeting. She stood at the front, radiant in a power suit, outlining her vision for Meridian's future. The Westridge merger represents a transformative opportunity, she was saying. Their client portfolio complements ours perfectly, and their financial strength will allow us to expand into new markets. I felt sick listening to her sell this lie. When she opened the floor for questions, I couldn't stop myself. What about the discrepancies in Westridge's reported client base? I asked, my voice carrying across the room. Sarah's smile didn't waver, but her eyes flashed with warning. There are no discrepancies, Tinsley. We've done extensive due diligence. Then why does their SEC filing show a 30% smaller client base than what's in your presentation? A murmur went through the room. Sarah laughed lightly. I think you're looking at outdated information. Perhaps we should discuss this privately after the meeting. I'm looking at their filing from last week, I persisted, holding up my tablet, and it shows significant debt that isn't reflected in our merger analysis. The room went silent. Sarah's expression hardened. Tinsley is understandably emotional given recent events. I assure you all, the merger numbers have been thoroughly vetted by our team and the board. As people filed out after the meeting, Sarah cornered me. What the hell was that? She hissed. That was me doing my job. I replied evenly. Something you might try sometime. You're embarrassing yourself. Her voice was cold. This pathetic attempt to undermine me needs to stop. Or what? She stepped closer. Or I'll have to remind the board why they chose me instead of you. Your history of emotional instability, your lack of strategic vision. My history of what? I stared at her, realization dawning. What exactly did you tell them about me? Sarah's smile returned, but it never reached her eyes. Only the truth, Tins. That's all. As she walked away, I stood frozen, finally understanding. This wasn't just about the CEO position or the merger. Sarah had systematically dismantled my reputation behind my back for years. This fight had just become much more personal. You need to decide what matters more, revenge or your career. Olive set her coffee down with a finality that made me wince. We were at a cafe 3 blocks from the office, far enough that we wouldn't run into colleagues. Why can't I have both? I asked, stirring my untouched latte. Because Sarah has positioned you perfectly. Every move you make against her looks like bitter jealousy. Olive leaned forward. That stunt in the meeting yesterday, it made you look desperate. It wasn't a stunt. The Westridge numbers are fabricated. I believe you. But you presented it like a personal attack, not a business concern. I sank back in my chair, the truth of her words stinging. So I'm supposed to sit back and watch Sarah tank the company with a fraudulent merger while destroying my reputation? No. You're supposed to be smarter than she expects. Olive's eyes softened. Tinsley, I've known you for 8 years. You're brilliant at strategy when it's business. But this is personal, and it's making you sloppy. She was right. I'd let emotion drive my actions, playing directly into Sarah's hands. What would you do? I asked. Document everything. Build a case methodically, and find out exactly what Sarah told the board about you. I nodded slowly. I need to talk to Peyton. He sits in on all the board meetings. Be careful. Peyton plays all sides. Exactly why he might talk. I checked my watch. I should get back. I have a meeting with Reggie about the Westridge contracts. Olive gave me a knowing look. Just a meeting? What's that supposed to mean? He's been checking on you every day you were out. That's not just professional concern. I felt my cheeks warm. We're colleagues. Olive smiled. Just remember, not everyone at Meridian is your enemy. Back at the office, I found Peyton alone in the break room, methodically selecting a tea bag. Earl Grey or English breakfast? The eternal question, I said, keeping my tone light. He startled slightly. Tinsley, didn't see you there. Got a minute to chat? His eyes darted toward the door. I'm actually late for a meeting with Sarah. It won't take long. I lowered my voice. I need to understand what happened with the CEO appointment. Peyton sighed, abandoning his tea. Look, I like you, Tinsley. Always have. But this isn't a good idea. I just want to know what Sarah told the board about me. He hesitated, conflict evident in his expression. She presented a case that you weren't ready for the position. That your personal history made you unsuitable for high-pressure leadership. My blood ran cold. My personal history? Your parents, he said quietly. She suggested that your abandonment issues make you erratic under pressure, that you'd be a liability during the merger. The room seemed to tilt. Sarah had weaponized my deepest pain, the loss of my parents when I was 19, something I'd shared with her during late nights when defenses were down. The nights I'd cried on her shoulder, trusted her with my fears of never being enough, of everyone eventually leaving. That's why they changed their minds, I whispered. Peyton nodded uncomfortably. She had examples, times you supposedly broke down during stressful projects. That never happened. The board believed her. She was very convincing. I felt sick. Thank you for telling me. Tinsley, he grabbed my arm as I turned to leave. Be careful. Sarah's father has connections beyond Westridge. She could make sure you never work in this industry again. The threat should have frightened me. Instead, it crystallized my resolve. I found Reggie waiting in my office, contract drafts spread across my desk. He looked up when I entered, his expression immediately concerned. "What happened? You look like you've seen a ghost." I closed the door behind me. "Sarah used my parents' death to convince the board I'm emotionally unstable." Reggie's face darkened. "That's beyond unprofessional. It's cruel. It's effective," I said, sitting down heavily. "Who would want a CEO with abandonment issues? Someone who recognizes that overcoming personal tragedy creates resilience, not weakness." His voice was quiet but firm. "The board should know they've been manipulated. They won't believe me over Sarah, not without proof. Then we find proof." He gestured to the contracts. "Starting with these, the Westridge merger terms are unusually favorable to them, almost like someone on our side is deliberately undervaluing Meridian." I leaned forward, professional interest momentarily overriding personal hurt. "Show me." For the next hour, we pored over the documents, identifying clause after clause that disadvantaged Meridian. Reggie's legal expertise illuminated issues I might have missed, and I found myself genuinely impressed by his thoroughness. "This isn't just bad negotiating," I said finally. "This is deliberate sabotage." "The question is why," Reggie replied. "What does Sarah gain by undervaluing Meridian in this merger?" A knock interrupted us. Rosalind slipped in, closing the door quickly behind her. "You need to see this," she said, handing me her tablet. "Sarah just announced her engagement party. It's this Saturday." I stared at the screen. There was Sarah, beaming beside her fiancé Bradley, announcing an intimate celebration at the Westridge Country Club. "Look who's on the guest list," Rosalind said, scrolling down. The entire Meridian board was invited, along with the Westridge executives. "She's using her engagement party to finalize the merger details," I realized. "Away from the office, away from scrutiny. Away from you," Reggie added. "You're conspicuously absent from that invitation list." I handed the tablet back to Rosalind, a plan forming in my mind. "I need to be at that party." "Tinsley, no," Rosalind warned. "That's exactly the kind of emotional reaction she's expecting." "I'm not going to make a scene," I said, "but that party is where everyone with power will be gathered. If I'm going to expose what Sarah's doing, that's my opportunity." Reggie and Rosalind exchanged concerned glances. "What?" I demanded. "Are you sure this is about saving Meridian?" Reggie asked carefully. "And not about hurting Sarah?" The question hit me like a slap. Was I motivated by professional integrity or personal vengeance? The line had blurred so completely I couldn't tell anymore. "Does it matter?" I finally asked. "If the end result is stopping a fraudulent merger?" "It matters to you," Reggie said simply, "and what this does to you matters to me." The unexpected tenderness in his voice caught me off guard. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with an email notification. From Sarah. "Missing your input on the merger team. Let's put our personal issues aside for Meridian's future. Dinner tonight to clear the air?" I showed the others. "She's trying to neutralize me. Or genuinely extend an olive branch," Reggie suggested. I laughed bitterly. "After what Peyton just told me, not likely." "What did Peyton say?" Rosalind asked. As I explained, their expressions shifted from concern to outrage. "That settles it," Rosalind said firmly. "We're getting you into that party." I agreed to dinner with Sarah. Know your enemy, as the saying goes. We met at Luciano's, our usual celebration spot. The familiarity felt perverse now, like returning to a childhood home that had been sold to strangers. Sarah was already seated when I arrived, looking perfectly composed in a navy dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She stood to hug me. I let her, my body stiff. "I'm so glad you came," she said, her smile warm and practiced. "I've missed you." "Have you?" I slid into my seat, declining the wine she'd already ordered for me. "I need a clear head tonight." Her smile faltered slightly. "Still angry, I see." "Not angry, just not interested in pretending." The waiter appeared, saving us from the tension. We ordered. She got her usual salmon. I chose something different from my regular order. Even that small deviation felt like a declaration. "I meant what I said in my email," Sarah began once we were alone. "I value your input on the merger. No one understands Meridian's operations like you do." "Interesting pivot," I replied. "Yesterday I was emotionally unstable. Today I'm indispensable." She sighed. "That was unfortunate timing," You blindsided me in that meeting. Like you blindsided me with the CEO announcement? That was business, Tinsley. This merger is transformative for Meridian. The board needed someone with established connections to Westridge. Someone like you, whose father conveniently sits on their board? Sarah's expression hardened momentarily before smoothing back into concern. I know you're hurt, but this self-destructive crusade isn't like you. People are worried. Which people? The board members you told about my abandonment issues? Her fork clattered against her plate. Peyton talked to you. Did you think he wouldn't? Did you think I wouldn't find out how you used my parents' death against me? Sarah leaned forward, voice low. I presented relevant concerns about leadership qualities. That's all. You betrayed my confidence. You took the most painful part of my life and weaponized it. I did what was necessary for Meridian's future. No, I said, my voice steady despite the anger churning inside me. You did what was necessary for Sarah's future. Don't pretend this is about the company. She studied me, calculation replacing pretense. What do you want, Tinsley? A bigger role in the merger? A promotion? Name it, and we can move past this unpleasantness. The casual offer stunned me. She thought I could be bought off, my dignity traded for a title. I want you to withdraw from the Westridge merger, I said. The numbers are fabricated and you know it. Sarah laughed, the sound brittle. That's not happening. The merger proceeds next week after my engagement party. Then I'll take what I've found to the board. With what evidence? The board trusts me, not the emotionally compromised executive who's clearly bitter about losing a promotion. She was right, and we both knew it. I'd need irrefutable proof to overcome the narrative she'd created. This isn't you, Tinsley, she continued, her voice softening. We've been friends for 12 years. Are you really willing to throw that away over a job title? This isn't about the title. It's about you using our friendship to advance yourself while systematically undermining me. That's not... How long? I interrupted. How long have you been planning this? Something shifted in her eyes, a flicker of truth breaking through the performance. Since the Harrington acquisition, she admitted. When you got the credit for the deal, I helped structure. 3 years. She'd been plotting this for 3 years, all while being my maid of honor, my confidant, my supposed best friend. I never took credit for your work, I said quietly. I always acknowledged your contribution. In private, but the board saw you as the rising star. I was just supporting cast. The raw jealousy in her voice was almost shocking. All this time, while I'd trusted her completely, she'd been tallying perceived slights and planning her revenge. We're done here. I stood up, throwing cash on the table for my untouched meal. Tinsley, wait. She grabbed my wrist. Don't do anything you'll regret. My father can make one phone call and end your career anywhere in this industry. I pulled my arm away. Threats now? At least we're finally being honest. Outside, the cool night air did nothing to calm the storm inside me. I walked aimlessly, eventually finding myself at a small park where Sarah and I used to eat lunch when we were both starting out. Before titles and corner offices mattered, before she decided I was competition instead of family. My phone buzzed with a text from Reggie. How did it go? I called him instead of texting back. When he answered, the concern in his voice broke something in me. I told him everything. Sarah's admission, her threats, my helplessness. Where are you? He asked when I finished. Riverside Park. Stay there. I'm coming to get you. 20 minutes later, his car pulled up. I got in without a word, exhaustion suddenly overwhelming me. My place is closer, he said. I'll make coffee and we can figure this out. His apartment was exactly what I expected. Minimalist, orderly, with overflowing bookshelves, the only sign of personality. He made coffee while I sank onto his couch. She's been planning this for years, I said, staring into the mug he handed me. Everything was calculated. Then we need to be equally calculated, he replied, sitting beside me. Sarah's right about one thing. You need irrefutable evidence to take to the board, which I don't have. Not yet, he hesitated, but I might know how to get it. I looked up. How? The engagement party? Bradley, Sarah's fiancé. He works in Westridge's finance department. So I play golf with him occasionally. He's mentioned having concerns about some of the company's reporting practices. Hope flickered faintly. You think he'd talk to us? To me, maybe, if I can get him alone at the party. Which I'm not invited to. Reggie's expression turned determined. Then we get you in another way, as my +1. Sarah would spot me immediately. Not if you're working behind the scenes. I go as a guest, you come as staff. The country club is hiring extra servers for the event. The audacity of the plan jolted me out of my despair. You want me to pose as a server at Sarah's engagement party? It gets you in the room. It gives us a chance to find proof. It was risky, potentially humiliating, and absolutely not what a former CEO designate should be doing. It was also our only shot. Okay, I said, newfound determination replacing defeat. Let's do it. Reggie smiled, relief evident in his expression. There she is. I was worried we'd lost you. Lost me? The Tinsley who never backs down from a challenge. His hand covered mine briefly. The one I've always admired. The unexpected touch, the sincerity in his voice, it cut through my emotional armor in a way I wasn't prepared for. For the first time in days, I felt something beyond anger and betrayal. I felt hope. Keep your head down and don't make eye contact with the guests. The catering manager adjusted my bow tie with brisk efficiency. Water glasses stay full, empty plates disappear quickly. Questions? No, ma'am. I balanced the tray of champagne flutes, feeling ridiculous in the server's uniform. The black pants were too long, the white shirt too tight across my shoulders. Good. The first guests arrive in 20 minutes. She moved on to the next server, leaving me alone with my nerves. I'd spent my career climbing to the executive floor, and here I was, back in a service job like during college. The irony wasn't lost on me, but desperate times called for desperate measures, and I was definitely desperate. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from Reggie. Just arrived. Remember the plan? Be careful. The plan seemed simple enough. I'd work the party, staying invisible to Sarah while listening for useful information. Meanwhile, Reggie would corner Bradley and probe for Westridge's financial irregularities. We'd meet at midnight in the coat check room to compare notes. Simple except for the knot of anxiety in my stomach. If Sarah spotted me, my career wouldn't just be derailed, it would be obliterated. The Westridge Country Club ballroom filled quickly. Board members mingled with executives, champagne flowing freely. I kept my gaze lowered, moving through the crowd with practiced invisibility. Champagne, sir? I offered to an older man I recognized as Sarah's father. He took a glass without looking at me. Telling you, once this merger goes through, we'll have salvaged the situation completely, he was saying to another board member. Meridian's client list alone covers our shortfall. I lingered, pretending to arrange my tray. The SEC inquiry won't matter by then? The other man asked. Not once we've consolidated assets. The timing is tight, but more champagne over here, please. A sharp voice cut through my eavesdropping. I turned to find Valerie, Sarah's friend from college, staring at me with narrowed eyes. I nodded and moved away, pulse racing. SEC inquiry? What shortfall needed salvaging? Across the room, I spotted Reggie chatting with Bradley near the bar. Bradley looked uncomfortable, tugging at his collar repeatedly. Reggie caught my eye briefly, giving an almost imperceptible nod. For the next hour, I circulated carefully, collecting fragments of conversations. The picture emerging was disturbing. Westridge wasn't just cooking their books. They were under preliminary investigation by the SEC. The merger with Meridian wasn't a strategic partnership. It was a lifeline for a drowning company. And Sarah knew. She had to know. I was refilling water glasses at a table of Meridian board members when I heard my name. Shame about Tinsley. One of them was saying, she had potential. Sarah made the right call bringing her concerns to us, another replied. Can you imagine if we'd announced Tinsley as CEO, only to have her fall apart during the merger? Still, using her personal tragedy against her seems harsh. Business isn't about being nice, it's about results, and Sarah delivers results. I gripped the water pitcher so tightly my knuckles turned white. Stay invisible, I reminded myself. The mission matters more than your pride. At 11:30, I slipped away to the restroom, needing a moment to collect myself. I splashed cold water on my face, breathing deeply. The door swung open. Sarah walked in, radiant in a silver gown. Our eyes met in the mirror. Time stopped. Tinsley? Her shock quickly transformed into cold fury. What the hell are you doing here? I straightened, abandoning all pretense. Gathering evidence that you're knowingly merging Meridian with a company under SEC investigation. You're insane. She glanced toward the door. And trespassing. I'm calling security. Go ahead, I'll tell them, and everyone at this party, exactly what I've learned tonight. Sarah's hand froze halfway to her clutch. You're bluffing. Westridge is using Meridian to cover financial irregularities. Your father practically admitted it to another board member. Something flickered in her eyes. Not guilt, but calculation. You don't understand what you're talking about. I understand perfectly. You're sacrificing Meridian to save your future father-in-law's company. I'm securing Meridian's future, she hissed. Westridge has temporary cash flow issues, that's all. The merger benefits both companies. That's not what your fiancé thinks. Her eyes widened. What? Bradley has concerns about Westridge's reporting practices. Seems he's been talking to Reggie about them. It was a gamble. I didn't know exactly what Bradley had told Reggie yet, but Sarah's reaction told me I'd hit a nerve. Bradley wouldn't... She stopped, uncertainty crossing her face for the first time. Wouldn't what? Have a conscience? Unlike some people. Sarah stepped closer, voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. Listen carefully. You have exactly one chance to walk away from this. Leave now, keep your mouth shut, and I'll make sure you land somewhere decent after the merger. And if I don't, then I'll destroy you so thoroughly you won't even get hired as a real server. Her smile was glacial. Your choice. The bathroom door opened again. Valerie entered, stopping short when she saw us. Everything okay, Sarah? She asked, eyes darting between us. Fine, Sarah replied smoothly. Just catching up with an old friend who crashed my engagement party. How pathetic is that? Valerie's expression turned to disgusted pity. Security's right outside if you need them. That won't be necessary, I said, moving toward the door. I was just leaving. Sarah caught my arm as I passed. Remember what I said, Tinsley. Last chance. I pulled away and walked out, heart pounding. The plan was compromised. I needed to find Reggie immediately. I spotted him near the coat check, deep in conversation with Bradley. Their expressions were serious, heads bent close together. As I approached, Bradley handed Reggie what looked like a flash drive. Tinsley, Reggie said when he saw me, alarm crossing his face. What happened? Sarah saw me. We need to go. Now. Bradley looked between us, understanding dawning. You're working together. Bradley, I started. Whatever Sarah's told you about the merger. I know, he interrupted. I've known for months. That's why I gave Reggie this. He nodded at the flash drive. It's everything. The real financials, emails about covering up the SEC inquiry, all of it. Why would you help us? I asked, confused. Bradley's expression hardened. Because I'm not marrying someone who would sacrifice hundreds of jobs to save her future father-in-law's reputation. He glanced toward the ballroom. Or who would use her best friend's deepest pain against her. Security guards appeared at the ballroom entrance, scanning the crowd. Sarah stood behind them, pointing in our direction. Go, Bradley urged. I'll stall them. Reggie grabbed my hand. Side exit, now. As we slipped out into the night, I realized we'd just crossed a point of no return. Tomorrow, we'd take Bradley's evidence to the board, and Sarah's carefully constructed world would collapse. The thought should have brought satisfaction. Instead, I felt only a hollow certainty that the real battle was just beginning. They've called an emergency board meeting for 9 a.m. Olive's voice crackled through my phone as I paced Reggie's living room. We'd spent the night analyzing Bradley's files, building an airtight case against the merger. Did they say why? I asked, though I already knew. Sarah would be scrambling to contain the damage. No, but Sarah's been making calls all night. Whatever you did at that party has her spooked. I glanced at Reggie, who was organizing our presentation materials. We'll be there. Make sure everyone attends. After hanging up, I sank onto Reggie's couch, exhaustion hitting me in waves. What if this backfires? What if they don't believe us? Reggie sat beside me, his shoulder touching mine. The evidence speaks for itself. Bradley's files show clear intent to defraud. Sarah will say I fabricated everything out of jealousy. Then we'll need to be better than that narrative. He hesitated. Tinsley, I need to ask you something important. What? When you walk into that boardroom, what do you want? Really want? The question caught me off guard. Justice, the truth exposed. Is that all? His eyes held mine. Because if this is just about hurting Sarah the way she hurt you, it won't bring you peace. I looked away, uncomfortable with his perception. You think I'm being vindictive. I think you're human, and I think you deserve better than letting revenge define you. His words settled heavily in my chest. What did I truly want? The CEO position back? Sarah's humiliation? Or something deeper, validation that I wasn't crazy, that my instincts had been right all along? I want to protect Meridian, I finally said, and I want to reclaim my reputation. The rest, I don't know. Reggie nodded, seeming satisfied with my answer. Then let's focus on that. We arrived at Meridian 30 minutes early, finding Olive waiting in the lobby. Her expression was grim. Sarah's already upstairs with the board, she said, and she's brought her father. My stomach tightened. She's trying to intimidate them. It's working. Half the board looks terrified. We took the elevator in tense silence. As the doors opened on the executive floor, Reggie squeezed my hand briefly. Remember why we're here. The boardroom fell silent as we entered. Sarah sat at the head of the table, my rightful place, with her father beside her. Her smile was brittle when she saw me. Tinsley, this is a closed meeting. I've invited her, said Chairman Elliott, surprising me. Given the serious nature of the allegations, all parties should be present. Sarah's composure slipped momentarily. What allegations? Perhaps you should tell us, I said, setting my laptop on the table. About Westridge's SEC investigation, or the fabricated client numbers, or how this merger is actually a bailout for your future father-in-law's failing company. Murmurs rippled around the table. Sarah's father leaned forward, his voice cold. Those are slanderous accusations. They're documented facts, Reggie countered, distributing folders to each board member. Everything is in those packets, including emails between Westridge executives discussing how to hide their financial problems until the merger is complete. This is absurd, Sarah laughed, but I could see the calculation in her eyes. Tinsley is clearly fabricating evidence because she's bitter about losing the CEO position. The evidence came from Bradley, I said quietly. Sarah froze. What? Your fiancé provided these files. He's been documenting Westridge's deception for months. The color drained from her face. That's not possible. He was at the country club last night, Reggie added. He gave us everything. Sarah's father stood abruptly. This meeting is over. Our legal team will address these baseless claims. Sit down, Richard, Chairman Elliott said firmly. No one's leaving until we understand exactly what's happening. For the next 30 minutes, Reggie and I walked the board through the evidence. The emails were damning. Explicit discussions about hiding debt, inflating client numbers, and using Meridian's resources to cover Westridge's shortfalls. With each revelation, Sarah's expression hardened. When we finished, Chairman Elliott removed his glasses, looking troubled. Sarah, how do you explain this? It's clearly been manipulated, she insisted. Tinsley has technical skills. She could easily have altered these documents. The metadata proves authenticity, Reggie countered, and Bradley is prepared to testify to their validity. Bradley is confused, Sarah's father interjected. He misunderstood normal business discussions. Then explain this email, I said, projecting a message onto the screen. From you to Sarah, dated 3 months ago. The SEC inquiry is gaining momentum. We need to accelerate the Meridian merger before our Q3 filings. The room went silent. Sarah and her father exchanged glances. You knew, I said, looking directly at Sarah. You knew Westridge was in trouble and you orchestrated this merger to save them, regardless of the cost to Meridian. I was protecting both companies, she replied, her voice steady despite her obvious distress. Yes, Westridge has cash flow issues, but the merger still makes strategic sense. Not when one partner is deliberately deceiving the other, Chairman Elliott said. Sarah, I'm deeply disappointed. What about her? Sarah pointed at me, desperation creeping into her voice. She's emotionally unstable. I told you about her history, her abandonment issues. Yes, let's talk about that, I interrupted, surprising myself with my calm. You told the board I was emotionally unstable because my parents died when I was 19. You used my deepest pain I shared with you in confidence, To undermine me professionally, Sarah faltered. I was concerned about your ability to handle pressure. No, you were eliminating competition. I looked around the table. I've never hidden my past. My parents' death shaped me, but it didn't break me. It taught me resilience, determination, and the importance of integrity, qualities a CEO should have. Several board members nodded. Chairman Elliott's expression softened. The real question, I continued, is what kind of leader deliberately sabotages a colleague using personal trauma? What kind of CEO knowingly enters a fraudulent merger? Sarah stood suddenly, her composure cracking. You have no idea what leadership requires. Sometimes difficult decisions must be made. I was saving 2 companies. You were saving yourself, I replied quietly, at everyone else's expense. This is ridiculous, Sarah's father snapped. We're leaving. The merger agreement is signed. It's too late to stop it. Actually, Chairman Elliott said, there's a material disclosure clause. If Westridge knowingly withheld information about an SEC investigation, the agreement is void. Sarah's face crumpled. You can't do this. It's already done, Chairman Elliott replied. The board will need to vote, but I think our direction is clear. He turned to me. Tinsley, would you and Reggie give us the room? We need to discuss next steps. As we stood to leave, Sarah grabbed my arm. You've ruined everything, she hissed. Are you happy now? I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt an unexpected wave of pity. No, Sarah, I'm not happy, but I am free. In the hallway, surrounded by the curious stares of colleagues, I finally allowed myself to breathe. Whatever happened next, the truth was out. I had reclaimed my voice, my dignity, and my future. And for now, that was enough. The board deliberated for 3 hours. I spent them in my office, alternating between nervous pacing and staring out the window at the city skyline. Reggie brought coffee. Olive stopped by with encouragement. Rosalind texted updates from the executive floor. But mostly, I sat alone with my thoughts. When my phone finally rang, Chairman Elliott's voice was formal. The boardroom, please. 5 minutes. I smoothed my blazer, checked my reflection in the darkened computer screen, and took a deep breath. Whatever their decision, I'd fought with integrity. That would have to be enough. The boardroom had emptied except for Chairman Elliott and 2 other members. No sign of Sarah or her father. Sit down, Tinsley. Chairman Elliott gestured to a chair, not at the head of the table, I noticed, but to his right. We've made several decisions today. I nodded, keeping my expression neutral despite my racing heart. First, we've voided the merger agreement with Westridge. Our legal team is already preparing the necessary documentation. Relief flooded through me. That's the right call. Second, we've accepted Sarah's resignation effective immediately. I blinked, surprised it had happened so quickly. I see. Which brings us to you. He folded his hands on the table. Your actions in uncovering this deception were commendable. However, the manner in which you gathered information, infiltrating a private event, working with a Westridge insider, raises questions about judgment. My stomach sank. They weren't giving me the CEO position back. That said, he continued, your dedication to Meridian's well-being is unquestionable, and your presentation today demonstrated exactly the kind of leadership we need. He slid a folder across the table. Inside was an offer letter, not for CEO, but for Chief Strategy Officer, a newly created position. We're restructuring our leadership approach, he explained. The CEO position will remain open while we conduct a proper search. In the meantime, you'll lead our strategic initiatives, reporting directly to the board. I studied the offer. The compensation was excellent, the responsibilities substantial, but it wasn't what I'd been promised. I appreciate the offer, I said carefully, but I have a counter-proposal. Chairman Elliott raised an eyebrow. We're listening. I accept the CSO position with one condition. I met his gaze steadily. I want to be considered in the CEO search, on equal footing with external candidates. No prejudice based on Sarah's claims about my emotional stability. The board members exchanged glances. That's reasonable, Chairman Elliott finally said, but I should be transparent. We're considering a significant restructuring. The CEO role may look very different by the time we fill it. I understand. I just want a fair shot. Then we have a deal. He extended his hand and I shook it firmly. As I left the boardroom, a strange lightness filled me. I hadn't gotten everything I wanted, but I'd secured a path forward, on my terms. Reggie was waiting by the elevators. Well? CSO, I said. Not CEO, but a seat at the table. His smile was warm. They'd be fools not to see what you're capable of. Thank you, I said, suddenly overwhelmed by all he'd risked to help me. For everything. Partners look out for each other. His eyes held mine a moment too long, and I felt that same flutter from his apartment. The elevator doors opened, revealing Sarah. She was carrying a box of personal items, her expression stony. We all froze. Excuse me, she said coldly, trying to step around us. I should have let her pass, should have taken the high road, but something made me reach out and stop the elevator door from closing. Sarah. She looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. Behind her anger, I glimpsed something unexpected. Fear. What do you want, Tinsley? Come to gloat? No. I took a deep breath. I wanted to say I'm sorry it ended this way. She laughed bitterly. Right, you destroyed my career and my engagement, but you're sorry. Bradley made his own choice, and you destroyed your career when you decided to lie to the board. Is that what helps you sleep at night? Nothing helps me sleep at night, I admitted. Not after learning my best friend of 12 years saw me as nothing but competition. Something flickered in her eyes. Regret, maybe, or just calculation. We were never friends, Tinsley. We were two ambitious women in a world that only makes room for one of us at the top. That's not true. I never saw it as a zero-sum game. Then you were naive. She shifted her box. Congratulations on your victory. Enjoy it while it lasts. As she walked away, I felt Reggie's hand on my shoulder. You okay? Yeah, I said, surprised to find it was true. I think I am. Back in my office, I found Olive waiting with a bottle of champagne, the same expensive brand I'd ordered for my ill-fated celebration. Too soon? She asked, seeing my expression. Actually, perfect timing. I grabbed paper cups from my desk. But let's invite Roslyn and Peyton too, and anyone else who stood by me. As Olive went to gather them, I stood alone in my office, the same office where this journey had begun. I'd lost a friend but gained clarity. I hadn't reclaimed the CEO title, but I'd reclaimed something more important, my sense of self-worth. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. It was Bradley. Meeting with SEC investigators tomorrow. Doing the right thing, finally. Thank you for showing me it's possible. I smiled, setting the phone down as my colleagues began filtering in, Reggie among them. He caught my eye across the room, raising an imaginary glass and a private toast. Olive handed me a cup of champagne. Speech? I looked around at these people. Not just colleagues, but allies who had seen my value when I doubted it myself. To truth, I said, raising my cup, and to the battles that show us who we really are. As we drank, I realized something profound. I'd spent 12 years trying to prove I was enough, to Meridian, to Sarah, to myself. But standing here now, I finally understood. I had always been enough. The only person who couldn't see it was me. And that, more than any title or corner office, was the real victory.
The morning my world imploded smelled like French roast and betrayal. I was wiping down the espresso machine when I found the first receipt, a crumpled slip of paper that would unravel everything I'd spent the last 3 years building. $47,000 at Bergdorf's, Emily's signature, my business account. My hands trembled as I smoothed the paper on the counter. The early morning sunlight streaming through the cafe windows felt too bright, too harsh. This had to be a mistake. Emily wouldn't, she couldn't. But there were more, so many more. I trusted her to handle the books while I focused on growing our little coffee shop into something special. You're the creative one, Lauren, she'd said, laughing over wine just last week. Let me deal with the boring numbers stuff. The stack of statements spread across the counter told a different story. Designer clothes, first-class flights, 5-star hotels, all carefully hidden beneath legitimate business expenses, draining my dream dry one swipe at a time. The bell above the door chimed. "Morning, boss," Desiree called out, hanging up her coat. She must have read something in my face because her smile vanished. "Lauren, what's wrong?" I couldn't speak. My throat had closed up around the betrayal lodged there. Instead, I just pushed the pile of papers toward her. "Oh my God," she whispered, flipping through them. "Oh my God, how much?" "Everything," I managed. She took everything. The morning regulars would start arriving soon. The lawyers from the firm down the block, the nurses getting off night shift, the college students cramming for early classes. They'd want their lattes and scones and that perfect little boost to start their day. They had no idea their favorite neighborhood cafe was drowning in debt. My phone buzzed. Emily's face lit up the screen. A selfie of us from opening day. Champagne glasses raised in celebration. I let it go to voicemail. "Have you called the police?" Desiree asked. I shook my head. She covered her tracks too well, made everything look legitimate. I signed off on reports without checking because I trusted her. My laugh came out bitter as burnt coffee. God, I'm such an idiot. "You're not an idiot. She's your best friend. Was your best friend," Desiree corrected herself. Best friend. The words tasted like ash. Emily and I had met in college, sharing dreams over cheap wine and cheaper ramen. When I'd finally scraped together enough for a down payment on this place, she'd been the first person I called. We'd painted these walls together, argued over chair colors, celebrated every tiny milestone. Now she was gone, along with my savings, my business account, and any chance of keeping this place afloat. The phone buzzed again, this time a text. "Lauren, I can explain everything. Please don't do anything rash. Meet me at Riverside Park at noon. I have a plan to fix this." "Delete it," Desiree said firmly. "Whatever excuse she's got, whatever she's planning, it's not worth hearing." She was right. I knew she was right. But my finger hovered over the message. The morning rush started trickling in. I plastered on a smile, made small talk over steaming milk and grinding beans. Every transaction felt like a mockery. These people believed in my little cafe enough to make it part of their daily routine. Emily had made me break that trust without even knowing it. By 11, my decision was made. I grabbed my coat. "Lauren, don't," Desiree pleaded. "At least let me come with you." "I need to hear her say it," I said. "Need to watch her face when she explains how she could do this to me." "Be careful. People who can betray you once will do it again," I finished. "Yeah, I'm counting on it." The cafe door closed behind me with a cheerful jingle that felt like a lie. Emily thought she was calling me to Riverside Park to manipulate me one last time. She thought she knew exactly how this would play out. My anger, her tears, some elaborate story about circumstances and intentions. But she taught me one valuable lesson. Never show your whole hand at once. I pulled out my phone and dialed the number I'd found buried in those bank statements, the one connected to suspicious transfers and late-night calls. "Zane, it's Lauren. We need to talk about Emily Cooper." The game she'd started was about to change, and this time I'd be the one writing the rules. The debt collection notices hit my doorstep like fallen leaves, a steady, suffocating pile of consequences. I'd spent the night sorting through them, each envelope another nail in my cafe's coffin. Credit cards maxed. Supplier payments bounced. Even my personal account had been drained to cover the hemorrhaging business expenses. Emily hadn't shown at Riverside Park. Of course she hadn't. My phone lit up. Desiree again. I'd ignored her last 3 calls, but this time I picked up. "I'm outside your apartment," she said before I could speak, "with coffee and those almond croissants you stress eat. Open up." I considered pretending I wasn't home, but the thought of facing another hour alone with these papers made my chest tight. Doors unlocked. Desiree took one look at my living room floor, now a sea of red-stamped notices, and set the coffee down. "Okay, this is intervention time. When's the last time you slept?" "Sleep's not gonna fix this." I grabbed a croissant anyway, the buttery layers dissolving on my tongue. Did you know she took out a second mortgage on the cafe? Without my knowledge, I don't even know how that's possible. It's not. That's straight up fraud. Try proving it. Every document has my signature. Perfect forgeries. I laughed, the sound scratching my throat. She even got my habit of dotting I's with little circles. Desiree settled beside me, her shoulder warm against mine. What did Zane say? That Emily approached him 6 months ago, trying to sell him insider information about my suppliers, recipes, everything. He turned her down, but I swallowed hard. He wasn't the only cafe owner she contacted. That manipulative bit, a sharp knock cut her off. We both froze. Ms. Wagner? A man's voice. This is Nathan Morris from Morris & Banks Collections. We need to discuss your outstanding payments. Desiree squeezed my hand. I squeezed back, neither of us breathing. We have documentation of multiple missed payments. If you don't address this immediately, we'll be forced to pursue legal action. The threat hung in the air like smoke. After what felt like hours, footsteps retreated down the hallway. They can't take the cafe, Desiree said fiercely. We won't let them. They can, and they will. I pulled out my phone, showing her the latest email. Unless I come up with $127,000 by the end of the month. Jesus. She grabbed the phone, scrolling through figures that made my head spin. Have you talked to Matthew? He's got connections in banking. Maybe he could. I'm not dragging your brother into this mess. He'd want to help. No. The word came out sharper than intended. I can't owe anyone else. Not now. My phone buzzed. An unknown number. The voicemail notification popped up seconds later. Lauren? Emily's voice, thick with tears. Please, I know you hate me right now, but you have to understand. I never meant. Things just got out of control. But I can fix this. I have a way to make everything right. Just check your email. Please. Desiree was already shaking her head. Delete it. Whatever scheme she's cooking up will probably make things worse. I was already opening my laptop. Yeah, but I need to know what she's planning. The email loaded, a single document attachment, a contract for the sale of Riverside Cafe to a developer planning to demolish the whole block. The offer's legitimate, I said numbly. 3 times what the cafe is worth, enough to clear the debt and then some. It's blood money, Desiree spat. She drives you into debt, then conveniently has a buyer lined up. She's probably getting a cut. She was right, but the numbers kept swimming before my eyes. A way out, handed to me by the same person who'd pushed me over the edge. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Zane. Need to meet. Found something about Emily you should see. I stood up, brushing croissant crumbs from my lap. I need air and answers. Lauren? Desiree's voice was careful. Whatever you're thinking of doing, I'm thinking it's time to stop reacting and start acting. I grabbed my coat. Emily wants to play developer? Fine. But first, I need to understand exactly what game she's been running. The collection notice crunched under my feet as I headed for the door. Behind me, Desiree called out, Just promise me you won't do anything stupid. I didn't answer. After all, stupid would be trusting Emily again. What I had in mind was something much more calculated, and it started with finding out what Zane knew. Zane's cafe was everything mine used to be, bustling, vibrant, alive with possibility. The scent of success hung thick in the air, mingling with artisanal coffee and fresh-baked bread. My stomach clenched as I pushed through the door. He was behind the counter, sleeve tattoos on display as he pulled espresso shots. 10 minutes, he mouthed, gesturing toward an empty table. I sat, fighting the urge to analyze everything. His equipment, his layout, his menu prices. Instead, I watched his customers, trying to ignore the voice in my head calculating how many I'd lost this week alone. Here. A steaming cup appeared in front of me. Your usual oat milk cappuccino, extra shot. You remember my order? Hard to forget the competition. Zane dropped into the seat across from me, his expression unreadable. Especially when she orders the same thing 3 times a week for months. My hand froze halfway to the cup. Emily came here? Started about 8 months ago. Always during your busy hours, always with her laptop. He slid his phone across the table. Always meeting with this guy. The photo was grainy but clear enough. Emily, head bent close to a man in an expensive suit. Papers spread between them. My chest tightened. I recognized those papers. Our original lease agreement. That's Marcus Reynolds, Zane said. Developer. Been buying up properties all along this strip. The one who made the offer on my cafe. Bingo. He leaned back, arms crossed. Emily's been working with him since before your money troubles started, setting up the perfect distress sale. The cappuccino turned bitter on my tongue. She engineered the whole thing. The theft, the debt. It was all to force me to sell. For pennies on the dollar. Then Reynolds develops the block. Emily gets her commission, and your cafe becomes another overpriced apartment complex. My fingers curled into fists under the table. Why are you telling me this? We're competitors. My failure is your gain. Something flickered across Zane's face. Anger? Hurt? Reynolds approached me too, offered to buy me out for triple market value. But you didn't sell. This place? He gestured around the cafe. It's not just business, it's community, history, something Emily clearly doesn't understand. My phone buzzed. Another text from Emily. The developer needs an answer by Friday. Please, Lauren, this is your best way out. She's wrong, Zane said quietly. There's always another way. Is there? The words came out raw. I'm drowning in debt, hemorrhaging customers, and the only person I trusted. My voice cracked. I looked away, blinking hard. Hey, his hand covered mine, warm and calloused. You've got something Emily never will, people who actually care about this place, your regulars, your staff, hell, even your grumpy competitor next door. A laugh escaped before I could stop it. Grumpy? I prefer discerningly morose. His grin faded. Look, I've got copies of Emily's meetings, timestamps, everything. It won't undo the damage, but it's evidence of conspiracy, enough to maybe press charges. Or, an idea started forming, dangerous and tempting. Enough to turn her own game against her. Zane's eyebrows rose. What are you thinking? That Emily's not the only one who can play developer. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through contacts. But I'm going to need help, starting with your evidence and your coffee supplier, the one Emily couldn't convince to work with her. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Lauren, that's playing with fire. Good thing I've got nothing left to burn. I stood up, energy thrumming through my veins. Emily thinks she's got me backed into a corner. Time to show her what that really feels like. Wait. Zane caught my arm as I turned to leave. Whatever you're planning, be careful. Emily's desperate, and desperate people are dangerous, I finished. So am I. She made sure of that. Outside, the street was filling with afternoon crowds. Through Zane's window, I could see him watching me, concern etched on his face. My phone buzzed again, Desiree this time, probably wondering where I'd disappeared to. I ignored it, opening my email instead. Time to send Emily exactly what she was waiting for. You're right. We need to talk. Meet me at the cafe tonight after closing. Just us, like old times. The response came seconds later. Thank you, Lauren. You won't regret this. Oh, but someone would. I just had to make sure it wasn't me. Desiree found me in the cafe's storage room, surrounded by years of receipts and bank statements. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the window, turning paper edges to gold. "You missed our check-in call," she said, closing the door behind her. I was worried. "I'm fine." I held up a stack of documents. "Just doing some forensic accounting." "Right, because that's totally normal behavior." She settled onto a crate of coffee beans. "Want to tell me what happened with Zane?" I told her everything. Emily's conspiracy with the developer, the staged financial collapse, all of it. With each word, the betrayal felt fresher, sharper. "That calculating witch!" Desiree's voice shook. "We have to go to the police." "With what? Everything looks legitimate on paper." I gestured at the mess around us. "Emily made sure of that." "Then what's your plan?" I hesitated. Desiree had been my rock through this nightmare, but what I was considering, "Maybe it's better if you don't know." "Oh, hell no." She grabbed my arm. "You don't get to protect me by shutting me out. Not now." "Fine." I met her eyes. "I'm going to make Emily think she's won. Sign the papers, act desperate and grateful, then use Zane's evidence to prove she orchestrated the whole thing." That's actually not as crazy as I expected. There's more. I pulled out my phone, showing her the email chain with Emily's developer. "While she thinks I'm defeated, I'll be negotiating with other developers, creating a bidding war. Once word gets out about the potential rezoning." Understanding dawned on Desiree's face. The property value skyrockets. And Emily's careful plan implodes. She loses her commission, her reputation, her freedom, if we can prove fraud. Desiree's expression hardened. "But Lauren, this is dangerous. If she realizes what you're doing." "She won't." I stood, pacing between towers of storage boxes. "Emily thinks she knows me. The trusting friend, the creative dreamer who never checks the books. She has no idea what I'm capable of." "That's what scares me." Desiree's voice was quiet. "I've never seen you like this." "Like what? Strong? Strategic?" "Cold." The word hit like a slap. I turned to face her, protest rising, but the concern in her eyes stopped me. "Emily betrayed me," I said finally. "Tried to destroy everything I've built. What am I supposed to do? Forgive her?" "No, but maybe remember who you are while you're fighting back." She stood, touching my shoulder. "The Lauren I know built this place because she wanted to create something beautiful, not destroy someone else." That Lauren was naive. That Lauren was kind. There's a difference. My phone buzzed. Emily, confirming tonight's meeting. The sight of her name made my stomach clench. "I have to do this," I said, "even if it changes me." "Then let me help, whatever you're planning." "No." The word came out sharper than intended. "I need you clean in case things go wrong. Besides," I managed a smile, "someone has to keep the cafe running while I play developer." "Fine." Desiree pulled me into a fierce hug. "But promise me something." "What?" "When Emily shows up tonight, remember the friend she used to be, not because she deserves it, but because you deserve to keep that part of yourself." I didn't answer. Couldn't. Instead, I buried myself back in paperwork, searching for any detail Emily might have missed. Hours later, after Desiree left, I found it, a discrepancy in the timing of transfers, a pattern hidden in plain sight. Emily hadn't been working alone. Someone else had accessed our accounts, someone with banking expertise. My hands shook as I pulled up an old photo on my phone. Emily's birthday last year, all of us celebrating. There in the background, smiling at the camera, Matthew, Desiree's brother, the friend who'd offered to help with my banking troubles. The final piece clicked into place, shattering whatever warmth Desiree's words had stirred. Emily hadn't just betrayed me, she'd built a whole network of deception, using my closest relationships against me. The cafe's front door chimed. Emily's silhouette appeared, right on schedule. Time to show her exactly what her betrayal had created. Emily looked smaller somehow, standing in my cafe's dim evening light. Her designer clothes hung loose, dark circles shadowed her eyes. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered Matthew's face in that photo, and my heart hardened. Lauren. Her voice cracked. Thank you for... Sit down. I gestured to the table where we'd planned this cafe's future together. Let's make this quick. She sank into the chair, hands twisting in her lap. I know you're angry. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. I stayed standing, needing the height advantage. Tell me something, Em. When did you recruit Matthew? Before or after you started draining my accounts? The color drained from her face. What? Don't. I slapped the transfer records on the table. His signature's all over these. The timing, the amounts. It had to be someone with banking experience, someone I trusted. Lauren, please. Was it his idea, the whole developer scheme, or did you corrupt him like you corrupt everything you touch? It wasn't like that. She stood abruptly, sending her chair scraping back. Matthew was trying to help. Help steal my life's work? Help save it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. You were drowning, Lauren. Too proud to see it, too stubborn to change. The cafe was failing months before I touched those accounts. The words hit like a physical blow. You're lying. Check the books yourself, the real ones, not the pretty fiction you were showing investors. 3 failed health inspections. Supplier costs skyrocketing. Customer numbers dropping every month. Because you were sabotaging me. Because you refused to adapt. She grabbed a napkin, wiping her eyes. Matthew saw it first. Said if we didn't intervene, you'd lose everything. At least this way, you get something out of it. My hands shook as I snatched up the papers. So this was what? Tough love? Betraying me for my own good? The developer's offer is real, more than this place is worth. You could start fresh, do something new. This is my home. The words exploded out of me. Every recipe, every regular, every morning rush. It's not just business. It's who I am. It's who you were. Emily's voice softened. Lauren, look around. Really look. When's the last time this place was full? When's the last time you paid yourself a real salary? You're holding on to a dream that's already dead. I wanted to scream that she was wrong, but memories flickered unbidden. Empty tables during peak hours, bounced checks I'd hidden from staff, sleepless nights calculating how to make rent. The papers are here. Emily pulled out an envelope. Signed tonight and everything's covered. Debt cleared, fresh start guaranteed. Keep fighting. She shrugged. Well, bankruptcy leaves fewer options. My phone buzzed. Zane, got the proof. Ready when you are. One text and I could destroy her. Expose the conspiracy. Ruin her career. Maybe even send her to jail. The plan I'd spent days crafting waited like a loaded gun. But her words echoed, cutting deeper than any betrayal. A dream that's already dead. You're right, I said quietly. Emily blinked. What? About the cafe struggling. About me being too proud to see it. I sank into the chair across from her. But you're wrong about one thing. What's that? That betrayal was your only option. I pulled out my own envelope. These are letters. From regulars, staff, even competitors. People willing to invest, to help restructure, to fight for this place. People who believe in what we built here. Lauren, I could destroy you right now, show everyone what you and Matthew did. But then I'd be just like you, someone who destroys things instead of building them. Her hands trembled as she reached for the letters. I pulled them back. I'm not signing the developer's deal. Instead, I'm offering you a choice. A choice? Help me save this place, legitimately this time. Use your connections, your financial skills, everything you turned against me. Help me rebuild, or I slid Zane's evidence folder across the table. Or I use this, your call. Emily stared at the folder, then at me. In her eyes, I saw the same calculation I'd been wrestling with. Revenge versus redemption. Destruction versus creation. Why would you trust me again? She whispered. I don't. But I trust myself enough to try something different. I stood up. You have until morning to decide. Choose carefully. I left her there, surrounded by the wreckage of our friendship and the possibility of its resurrection. Outside, the night air felt clean, new. My phone buzzed again. Desiree this time. I answered, ready to face whatever came next. Sometimes saving a dream meant letting it change. Morning brought rain and Matthew's unexpected silhouette at my door. He stood there dripping, his banker's suit dark with water, looking nothing like the friend who'd offered financial advice over Sunday brunches. Emily told me what happened, he said. I let the silence stretch, remembering all the times he'd sat at my counter, watching me work while he helped balance my books. How many of those numbers had been lies? Aren't you gonna let me in? Depends. Are you here as my friend or Emily's accomplice? He flinched. Lauren, please, just let me explain. I stepped aside, not trusting myself to speak. He moved past me into the cafe, the familiar scent of his cologne now turning my stomach. The developer called this morning, he said, turning to face me. Emily didn't show up to sign the final paperwork. And he's pulling the offer, all of it. Matthew ran a hand through his wet hair. Do you understand what that means? The debt, the mortgage. I understand betrayal just fine. Thanks. Damn it, Lauren, I was trying to help. His composure cracked. You were hemorrhaging money, every month watching you pour more into this place, knowing it was only delaying the inevitable. So you and Emily decided to speed up the process? My laugh felt like broken glass. How generous. We had a plan, a clean exit, money to start fresh. He stepped closer. We can still salvage this. I have other investors. Stop. I held up my hand. Just stop pretending this was about helping me. It was, is. Why can't you see that? Because real help doesn't come with lies. The words burst out of me. Real friends don't conspire behind your back, manipulate your accounts, push you toward failure to force their solution. And what's your solution? He gestured around the empty cafe. More 60-hour weeks? More credit card debt? More pretending everything's fine while you drown? Before I could answer, the door chimed. Zane walked in, stopping short at the tableau before him. Bad time? Perfect time, I said, not taking my eyes off Matthew. Show him. Zane pulled out his phone, playing a recording. Emily's voice filled the space. Once the property value crashes, we'll control the whole block. Lauren never has to know our part in it. Matthew's face went ash gray. Where did you get that? Turns out Emily's not great at checking for security cameras during her coffee meetings. Zane's voice was casual, but his eyes were hard. Got dozens of these. Really interesting stuff about artificial debt creation, forged signatures, market manipulation. You're bluffing. Want to test that theory? I stepped closer. See how your banking career survives a fraud investigation? Lauren. Matthew's voice cracked. Please, everything I did was for my own good. Yeah, I got that part. I moved to the counter, started my morning coffee routine. The familiar motions steadied my hands. Here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna call your banking friends, restructure my debt, legitimately this time. Then you're going to disappear from my life. Or or Zane's evidence goes to the FBI. Steam hissed as I pulled a shot of espresso. Your choice. The silence stretched, broken only by the gurgle of brewing coffee and distant rain. You've changed, Matthew said finally. Yeah, funny how betrayal does that. He reached for his phone, fingers trembling slightly as he dialed. The conversation was brief, technical, final. It's done, he said afterward. The terms will be emailed over. Good, now get out. He paused at the door. For what it's worth, I really did care. I know, that's what makes it worse. After he left, Zane leaned against the counter. You okay? No. I pushed a cup toward him. Oat milk cappuccino, extra shot. But I will be. Lauren? He hesitated. Emily's still out there, and now she's desperate. Let her come. I started prepping for opening, the morning routine grounding me. I'm done playing defense. My phone lit up with a text. Emily, you forced my hand. Hope you're ready for what comes next. I showed it to Zane. His expression darkened. She won't stop, he said. No. I squared my shoulders, facing the rain-streaked windows where the first light of dawn was breaking. But neither will I. The morning crowd would arrive soon, seeking their daily comfort in coffee and routine. They'd find something different today. A owner who'd finally stopped trying to please everyone, who'd learned that sometimes saving what you love means fighting for it. Emily wanted war? Fine. I was just getting started. The cafe windows rattled as thunder rolled overhead. I stood behind my counter, watching Emily through the rain-streaked glass. She wasn't alone. 4 men in suits, Zane murmured from beside me. Developer's muscle, probably. Probably. My voice sounded calmer than I felt. You should go. Like hell. The door chimed. Emily entered first, rain darkening her designer blazer. The men filed in behind her, expensive suits, blank expressions. One carried a briefcase. Closing time, I called out. We're done for the day. Oh, we're just getting started. Emily's smile was razor sharp. The developer's lawyers have some papers for you to sign. Not interested. This isn't a negotiation, Lauren. She nodded to briefcase man, who began spreading documents across my favorite corner table. Your debt restructuring fell through. Funny how quickly banks change their minds when certain irregularities come to light. My hands clenched on the counter. Matthew, of course, his final betrayal. Sign now, Emily continued, and you might salvage enough to start over. Refuse? She shrugged. Well, bankruptcy's such an ugly process. Lightning flashed, casting harsh shadows across her face. In that moment, I barely recognized the woman who'd once been my best friend. You know what's funny? I moved around the counter slowly. I spent days plotting revenge, planning how to hurt you like you hurt me. But standing here now? I gestured around the cafe, my cafe, with its mismatched mugs and worn wooden tables. I just feel sorry for you. Emily's smile faltered. Excuse me? You've never built anything real, never created something from nothing, poured your soul into it, watched it grow. I traced my fingers along a table's edge, remembering countless mornings of coffee and dreams shared here. You only know how to take. I know how to survive, she snapped, something you never learned. No? I reached under the counter, pulled out a thick folder. These are letters from customers, neighbors, other business owners, people pledging support, investments, time. While you were plotting to destroy this place, I was building an army to save it. Cute, but sentiment doesn't pay bills. No, but community investment does. I met her eyes. The cafe's going co-op. 51% owned by the neighborhood, 49% mine. Papers were filed this morning. The color drained from Emily's face. You're lying. Check your phone. The press release should be hitting right about Now. On cue, her phone buzzed. She grabbed it, fingers shaking slightly as she read. The suited men shifted uncomfortably. "This changes nothing," she said, but her voice wavered. "The developer can't touch a community-owned business without public hearings, months of red tape, bad publicity." Zane stepped forward, arms crossed. "Really bad publicity. Once those recordings of your conspiracy go public, you wouldn't. Try me." I moved closer, close enough to smell her expensive perfume. "You taught me well, Em. Sometimes you have to be willing to burn it all down." Thunder crashed again. In the silence that followed, I heard her breathing quicken. "I could fight this," she whispered. "You could, but you won't." I softened my voice, because deep down, under all the schemes and betrayals, some part of you remembers who we used to be, what this place meant to both of us. Tears welled in her eyes. "Lauren, go home, Emily. It's over." She stared at me for a long moment, something like regret flickering across her face. Then she turned to the suited men. "We're done here." They filed out silently, taking their threatening papers with them. Emily paused at the door, rain drumming against the glass behind her. "I really did love this place once," she said softly. "I know. That's what made it hurt so much." After they left, Zane let out a long breath. "Holy shit, you actually did it." "We did it." I sagged against the counter, adrenaline draining away. "I couldn't have pulled this off without you. Please, this was all you." He bumped my shoulder gently. "The Lauren I first met would never have thought of a co-op solution. The Lauren you first met was naive. The Lauren I'm looking at now is unstoppable." Outside, the storm was breaking up, hints of sunset peeking through clouds. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, restructuring, renovations, rebuilding trust. But for now, standing in my cafe with the taste of victory sweet on my tongue, I felt something I hadn't experienced in weeks. Peace. I started making coffee. 2 cappuccinos, extra shots. Some traditions were worth keeping. Some dreams were worth fighting for. The morning rush flowed around me like a river, familiar and strange all at once. Every surface gleamed, fresh paint brightening the walls while keeping their character. The new espresso machine hummed efficiently beside my old faithful one. Progress and tradition, side by side. 2 oat milk lattes for Sarah," Desiree called out, her voice carrying over the buzz of conversation. I watched Sarah, a regular since our first week, grab her drinks from the pickup counter. She paused, taking in the subtle changes. Local art on the walls, the expanded seating area, the community board filled with neighborhood events. "It feels the same," she said, catching my eye. "But better somehow?" "That's the idea." The bell chimed. Zane walked in, carrying a box that smelled of freshly baked sourdough. Our weekly bread exchange, his artisanal loaves for my cold brew concentrate, had survived the chaos, evolved into something stronger. "Packed house," he noted, sliding the box onto the counter. "Always is now." I poured him his usual cappuccino. Funny how community ownership makes people feel invested. Funny how having the right person in charge makes that possible. Heat crept into my cheeks. Before I could respond, Desiree appeared at my elbow. "Speaking of being in charge," she handed me an envelope. "This came by courier." My name was written in familiar handwriting, Emily's. "You don't have to open it," Desiree said quietly. But I did. Some doors needed proper closing. Inside was a single page, a letter of resignation from her position at the development firm, copied to me. And a note. "You were right about building things, about creating instead of taking. I'm starting over somewhere new, not asking forgiveness, just wanted you to know. P.S. Check the storage room's loose floorboard. Left something there years ago you should have." "Everything okay?" Zane asked. Yeah. I tucked the letter away. Watch the front for a minute. The storage room smelled of coffee beans and possibility. I found the loose board easily. How had I never noticed it before? Underneath lay a small notebook, its pages yellow with age, our original business plan. Emily's neat handwriting alongside my messy scrawls, dreams sketched out in coffee-stained margins, and tucked inside a photo, two college girls raising champagne glasses, eyes bright with possibility. Found this too. Desiree's voice made me jump. She held up a stack of papers, bank statements, transfer records, hidden behind the cleaning supplies. Everything we needed to prove what she and Matthew did. She left us ammunition, I realized. Insurance in case her plan failed. Or proof she wasn't completely lost. Desiree sat beside me. What are you going to do with it? I looked at the evidence of betrayal, then at the notebook full of shared dreams. Both felt like artifacts from another life. I stood, carrying everything to the industrial sink. The water ran clear and cold as pages dissolved, ink bleeding away, old wounds washing clean. When I returned to the front, the morning rush was easing. Zane had jumped in to help, moving behind the counter like he belonged there. In a way, he did. We all did. Every person who'd chosen to invest in this place, to fight for it, to make it stronger. Hey, he caught my hand as I passed. You good? Better than good. I squeezed his fingers, then let go. Orders needed making. Coffee needed brewing. Life moved forward. I know who I am now. The cafe hummed with energy. Regulars chatting with new faces. Local artists discussing their next showcase. Baristas calling out drinks like poetry. My dream, transformed but not broken. Stronger for being shared. I pulled a perfect shot of espresso, watching the crema swirl like possibilities. The bittersweet scent rose up, familiar as breathing. Some people spend their lives taking things apart. Others learn to build something beautiful from the pieces. I chose to build. The morning sun streamed through our windows, catching on the new sign we'd hung yesterday. Below the cafe's name, smaller letters spelled out our promise to the community. Built together, growing stronger. I smiled, reaching for another cup. There were drinks to make, stories to hear, moments to create. This was just the beginning.